yeah, 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 yeah. Shake it, but keep pointing out all the lies. Putting the scripture right in your eye. The Bible guy, he reads Hebrew and Greek and shows you that your book's not unique. The Bible guy, he turns through the pages until every Christian rages. The Bible guy, watch one time and you're hooked. Now let's watch why the Christians get cooked. The Bible guy.
Howdy, folks. This is the Bible Guy coming at you live from Northeast Texas. Today, hopefully we'll have some interesting conversations today, but until then, make sure everyone that you are tapping that screen, sharing the live with those you love, with those you hate, with your friends and with your enemies. Let's get the word out there, and hopefully we can have some interesting conversations on any of the 6 points above my head. For everyone who doesn't know me already, I'm Dalton the Bible Guy. And even though I'm called the Bible Guy, yes, I am indeed a hardcore atheist. Someone asked me once if I was a soft atheist or a hard atheist, to which I responded with, every single morning I wake up a hard atheist. But why am I called the Bible Guy if I'm an atheist? It's because generally speaking, I know the Bible better than most Christians on TikTok. But if you are a Christian out there who thinks that they on YouTube or TikTok, who thinks they have a good reason for me to think that any of the 6 points above my head are not true, feel free to call in and we'll have a discussion on this point. If you're cordial, I'll be cordial. If you're a dick, I'll also be a dick. That's how the game goes. Your hair grows giga fast. What the heck? It does. My hair has always grown really fast. Like, give it a month and I'll have like a regular haircut again. It's insane. I mean, when I'm old and I'm balding or whatever. Oh, I won't be balding. I have really thick hair and it grows really fast. So when I'm old, it'll just be normal, I suppose. So. And it looks like we already got a super chat already in the works. Here we go.
At Herbie Shine with the £5. I wonder who will host the show today. Duncan, Declan, Desmond, Dermal, Derek, Denny, Darren, Douglas, Danny, Don, Dave, and my favorite, Dunton.
You know, it's funny. My sister, ever since we were kids, she's always called me by my name Dalton, but she, for some reason, always skips the L and the T in the name, and it comes out as Dotton. She calls me Dotton. We're adults now, and she still refers to me as Dotton. But that's just my sister. None of you guys. Ashley says, Holy Mother of Jesus. Hey, oh, and also hi to you, Ashley, and hello to you, Elizabeth, and Denny, and all the wonderful people. You're still driving. Holy hell. I hope that you have a safe drive. Let me know when you get home and you're safe, Elizabeth. I'm at a stoplight. And hello, Herbie Shine, and YouTube Punk, and Declan James, and all the rest of you. HLT, oh my gosh, all the people are here. Love to see all of you here. James Moynihan says delusional. Yes, if you, well, listen, if you are a Christian, I refrain from using the word delusional to describe you unless you continue to believe in things despite the fact that all the evidence goes against your position, in which case then you are believing contrary to reality, in which case you would be delusional. So Jesus has setting you free says, wow indeed. But Jesus is setting you free. Do you have any substantial points to bring to the conversation? I'd love to see that. Happy to have this on. Drywall project at home, boring as hell. You're literally watching paint dry. How? Yeah, that makes sense. We got our first guest for the day. At Liam, I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions, and then we can move on to the conversation. Question number 1: are you at least 18 years old.
Yes.
Question number 2, are you a Bible believer?
Yes.
Question number 3, how much of the Bible have you read?
All of it.
And then final question, what pronouns do you prefer to go by for the sake of this conversation?
To let you know what my gender is.
No, just what pronouns you prefer to go by.
I don't
So
really
that my
go by
so that my
I don't really
audience
go by
knows.
pronoun. I mean, I
So-
use
well-
pronouns in my daily vocabulary, but
Yep.
I don't use pronouns to in my day to day at all. As far
You-
as like
You don't
representing
refer to-
my schmex or my gender.
You don't refer to people as he and she and they and all that kind of stuff. You don't use words like I.
I said for myself. I'm not talking about others.
Oh,
I said
so
I don't-
you don't go by he or she or they.
in my day to day. No, I don't
You
usually
go by
say,
it.
"Hey,
Do you prefer-
my name is
do you-
he."
Well, no, your name wouldn't be he. Your pronoun would be a he if that's what you go by.
Yeah, but you're saying I. I is a first person pronoun. You're talking about third person pronoun.
Yeah.
So listen,
and when
don't
people-
don't get in the weed. Don't
when-
get in
when
the
my- when
weeds
my
with
audi-
me, dude.
No,
Here,
no,
you're
no.
gonna get dog
when my
walked.
audience,
Guy.
how should my audience refer to you? If they don't want to use your name,
the
how
man,
should they
the
refer
myth,
to
the
you?
legend. Maybe the man, the myth, the
none-
legend. if you want.
none of those are pronouns. I know, guys. We're getting a pronoun crash out right off the bat. I know.
I, we.
Third
First
person.
pronouns.
Third
First
person pronoun.
I, we.
What are your third person pronouns?
No. You said what
Come
are
on,
my
child.
pronouns? You never said third.
Here, I'll rephrase it then, because I mean, all my other
You
guests are smart
can't.
enough.
You've already.
All my other guests are smart enough to understand what I'm asking. What are your third person pronouns?
They, them. I'm a they, them.
All right. Liam, they, them. I'm Dalton, the Bible guy. Which one of the 6 points on the board did you wish to discuss with us?
The one, number 7.
There isn't a 7th on the board. You
Yeah,
can't
there
count. You don't know grammar, and you can't count.
there's. Are those glasses not thick enough? Number 7 is why are you not outside touching grass?
So I guess
And
you
eating-
can't count.
and eating a
so not only can you not count, but also you are hallucinating because you're seeing things that aren't on the board. So I don't know if you don't understand basic English grammar and you can't count, and you also are and you're also having delusions and hallucinations. I don't know if we can have a conversation, Liam. You don't seem to live in the real world.
Let's go to 6.
All right, that's better. The Bible's not a good source for morals. Question, Liam, do you think slavery is good or bad?
Well, it all depends. Owning someone as property, is that what you're saying?
Yes, owning someone as property, being able to go out and buy someone from someone else, and to be able to pass on that person to your children as an inheritance.
I would say in most cases, slavery is bad, but I can give you a scenario where I would say that it would be a good thing. Would you allow me to explain that to you?
Typical white man response, but all right. So just to be clear, do you think it's permissible to own someone as property, to buy them from somebody, and then also to pass them on to your kids as an inheritance? Do you think that is okay?
Not in all cases. No, in most cases, no.
In which case is it all right to buy somebody and then pass them on as an inheritance to your kids?
I think that if back in colonial times, maybe even further back, I would say that if a family was up on the block for sale, and let's say that a morally solid person with conviction said, I'm going to buy these people because I don't want them to be in slavery.
No. I said specifically that these are someone you buy for the purpose of owning them and passing them on to your kids as inherited property.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll even go deeper then. I will say, since you think there's no situation that where this could be a good thing, What about if this family was otherwise going to starve, was not going to have
I'm
employment?
not talking about. I'm very specific with you. This is an instant. I'm asking you when it comes to
Yes, this is
a family.
situational, though.
Liam, no, I'm asking you a very, very specific situation. Do you think it is okay and permissible to buy a person as property from another person for the purpose of owning them as property and for passing them on to your kids as inherited property? That is the only type of slavery I'm in reference to right now. I don't give a shit about other kinds of slavery. We're asking about this specific brand of slavery.
I think that it's like I said, you can't just do generalities here.
I'm not being general. I'm being very specific.
Yes,
I'm being
I
super
understand
specific right now. It's kind of odd that you're not able to like just say no, that's not okay.
I did say that it's not okay in most cases.
So-
I said, but
No.
And there,
In the
would you agree with me?
in the specific case?
Can I have a dialogue with you?
If you are able to actually interact with what I am asking,
You're trying
you,
to win in a
you seem-
conversation instantly.
You seem to want to talk about a form
Now
of
you're
slavery
muting,
that
dude.
You seem to be wanting to talk about a form of slavery that I am not discussing. I gave you very specific parameters and asked you about your opinion on that particular form of slavery. Why don't you want to interact with what I'm actually saying?
I am. I'm telling you, under those parameters, there are certain situations that would happen where you could say, okay, even though it's not doesn't seem to be right, the outcome is better than the actual means of what
No.
might happen to these individuals.
No, it is far better to, if you're going to purchase someone, to free them, not to own them as property and to pass them on to your kids as property. Do you agree or disagree that that is a moral thing to do, to own someone as property and to pass them on to your kids as property? I'm asking you about a very specific type of slavery. Interact with that form of slavery.
No,
very
I know what
suspicious
you're
that
going
not
to do.
able
You're
to-
going to go to the Old Testament to Leviticus. I know where you're going to go with this, dude. I want to understand it.
So,
And
do
you're
you
very
agree-
simple-minded.
Do you think it's
okay?
moral? Do you think it's moral or immoral?
You're very simple-minded.
Do you think it's
dude,
moral
okay?
or immoral? Do you think it's moral or immoral?
Under certain situations, yes, it was justified.
And under
yes,
under what
100%.
circumstance is it okay to buy someone as property, to own them as property in perpetuity, and to pass them on to your kids as property?
Under the example that you're going to be referring to in the Bible and giving them down and as an inheritance to your family, okay, these people, these slaves were still treated very, very well. And in a lot of cases, they inherited properties and all kinds of things from these families. So
Here's a quick question: are you allowed to beat your slaves so long as they don't die in 2 or 3 days?
Beating and discipline, I think, are two
Beating.
different things.
Beat them with a rod as long as they don't die in 2 or 3 days. I'm being very specific. Interact with what I'm saying.
I would say that's I would say no, but that's controversial because there are also passages in the Bible that talk about not harming individuals. Okay, so
All right,
you're
let's take a
cherry
look at what the
picking.
Bible
You're
says.
cherry picking. You're cherry picking.
Let's
from
see what the
Bible.
Bible. Let's see. Well, no, I'm not cherry picking. I know that's what Christians like
Yes,
to do
you
in order
are.
to run away from what the Bible says, but we don't do that here. So, tell me how I'm cherry picking with this passage. Exodus chapter 21, verses 20 through 21. When a slave owner strikes a male or female slave with a rod, and the slave dies immediately, the owner shall be punished. But if the slave survives a day or two, there is no punishment, for the slave is the owner's property. Do you think that's
Can you
permissible?
go back?
Do you think
Can you go back up? Can you go back up and read through like 18 and 19 and get some context before you jump
when individuals quarrel and
No,
one
I
strikes,
said go back. I said 17 and 18. If you remember what I said.
you said 18 and 19, but all right. Whoever curses father or mother shall be put to death. When individuals quarrel and one strikes the other with a stone or fist so that the injured party, though not dead, is confined to bed, but recovers and walks around outside with the help of a staff, then the assailant shall be free of liability except to pay for the loss of time and to arrange for the full recovery. When a slave owner strikes a male or female slave with a rod and the slave dies immediately, the owner shall be punished. But if the slave survives a day or two, there is no punishment, for the slave is the owner's property. Is this good and moral?
I would say in an entirety, no, it's not good and moral. I would say.
So you would disagree with Paul.
Can I finish?
Sure. Tell us how. Give us your excuse.
I don't have an excuse, but the reality is, was Paul God?
No, but I guess you don't believe Paul is divine inspired.
Was Paul called a perfect human being?
No, if we're going to throw out Paul, hey, I'm all for it. Let's just throw out Paul. Paul, what was Jesus' position on the law of Moses?
I'm not throwing out Paul. Paul the apostle.
Do you
Paul
believe
the apostle
Paul,
was an unaliver?
do you believe that? Do you believe Paul is correct when he says that the
Paul
law
the
is
apostle and unaliver?
Do you believe? I'm talking about Saul when he prior to his conversion. I'm talking about afterwards when he was a believer.
Why do you answer? Why do you ask all the fucking questions?
Because it's my show, dickhead. Now, do you agree with Paul when he says that the law is holy, just, and good, or was Paul wrong?
When it comes to God's commandments, yes.
Is Exodus 21 not a commandment from God?
It was written by Paul, right?
No, Exodus 21 was not written by Paul.
It's the Levitical law, is it not?
Yeah, Paul didn't write any of the Levitical laws. The Levitical laws were written hundreds and hundreds of years before Paul was even in his father's ballsack.
Yeah, I misspoke. So I know that. Yeah.
Is this a law of God?
I think that it's a law of man interpreting God's law. Yes, and I still think it's from a.
So who's speaking?
A flawed human being.
So
would you agree with that or not?
I would agree that the entire Bible is flawed in human work.
Engage with what I said, dude.
I agree that the entire Bible is flawed in the work of human hands. I guess you just disagree when the psalmist says in Psalm chapter 19, verse 7, that the law of God is perfect, converting the soul. You disagree with that statement.
No, we're jumping to something else, okay? This is how a debate works. You just gave me your claim that number 6 on there shows that...
Exodus 21.
No, I'm saying the numbers... Dude, 6 on your prompt above your fucking head. Listen to what I'm saying, okay? Can I speak? Is that cool?
Sure, slave owner. Tell me about how it's okay to own slaves, or how
you're saying
pick what parts of the Bible you believe are divinely inspired.
No, the Bible is not morally solid. It's not morally sound, is what you're saying. Your number 6 claim, right?
And you seem to agree with me because you don't think that Exodus 21 is moral.
Now I want you to talk about the book of Corinthians. I want you to talk about how a man and a woman are supposed to.
But
wait a minute. No, I want you to tell me.
But Paul's not perfect. Why should I care what Paul says?
Listen,
you already dismissed Paul.
I didn't dismiss anything. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So do you agree with Paul when he says that the law is holy, just, and good?
Yes, I do believe that.
So the commandment to own slaves, to pass them on to your kids, and that you can beat your slave so long as they don't die in 2 or 3 days, that this is holy, just, and good.
In the way that in the context that you're putting it, no, I don't believe that this is what they were talking about.
And what other context is there? What context? Because we've read the context of Exodus chapter 21. I don't know about you, but I've actually read the Pentateuch. What context suddenly makes the owning of a slave and the ability to beat them so long as they don't die in 2 or 3 days somehow better?
The justification for owning slaves, it's an inheritance, right? Slaves in this time could be an inheritance to family to pass down. And also, I don't believe that it says. Can you show me where it says these slaves will be passed down from generation to generation
Yep.
and owned in their entirety?
Yep. Leviticus chapter 25. Let's see. As for your male and female slaves whom you may have, and the Hebrew is a bit more forceful, it says who you will have. It is from the nations around you that you, and here and again the Hebrew is more forceful, you will acquire male and female slaves. You may also acquire them from among the aliens residing with you and from their families who are with you, who have been born in your land. They may be your property. You may keep them as a possession for your children after you, for them to inherit as property. These you may treat as slaves, but as for your fellow Israelites, no one shall rule over the other with harshness. So yes, you can pass them on as an inheritance according to God.
Like I said, dude, this is the Levitical law as well.
What was Jesus' position on the law?
Christ said that he came, he fulfilled the law.
What did he say
Okay.
right after that?
I don't remember the exact quote, but was it under what? Book of Matthew something?
Matthew, do not think that I've come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, which it hasn't, I can check, it hasn't. Not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. All is not yet accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So which one are you, Liam? Are you one of the ones who relaxes the least of these commandments and teaches that you don't have to keep them anymore? Or are you the one who does and teaches them?
Can you lick like your lips because you're drooling right now? There you go. That's gross. Sorry.
It's weird that you're so obsessed with my face, but okay. Could you address what I just
trying
said?
to help you out with your hygiene. Okay.
I don't need
Hang on, bro.
I don't need your help, buddy.
You do. Okay.
I know you want to take away from the conversation because you're getting
No,
absolutely
I don't.
you're getting absolutely fucking dog walk, so you have to talk about my face. So anyways, are you one of the ones who relaxes the least of the commandments, or do you do and teach them?
Since Christ said, "I did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law." Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you show me also where he obviously adds to this? Can you show me where Christ himself says that it's okay to have slaves, but maybe he's a progressive God, so it's just a little bit better?
Yeah, it's right here highlighted. Jesus affirms that you have to do and keep the entirety of the law of Moses.
No, he doesn't say anything about slavery there.
Is slavery one of the laws of Moses?
Again, he came to fulfill the law. Okay,
I don't think you know what that means. Is slavery part of the law of Moses?
that's part of the Levitical law. Yes. So
Okay.
back to the question at hand. We're talking about you being a man. Make
number
yourself
19. So I'm going to ask you again, which one of these two people are you categorized under? Are you one of the one who breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same? Or are you one of the ones who does and teaches them? Which one are you?
Listen to me. Mute me again and I'm fucking gone, dude.
Then leave. I don't
I'm
need you here.
platforming your fat ass.
Oh my guys, when they get down to threats and insults, you know that you've won the debate. He had no good point. He could not answer a single straightforward question. So he had to result into whining like a little bitch baby. So wild. Anyways, that was fun. We're gonna move on to the next guest. Yeah, they crashed out hardcore. Now we're gonna move on to the next guest, but before we do, I'm gonna read some super chats.
at Calicia with the $10. Pronouns Meltdown number 1. Yeah, we'll see if we get any more today. And Rod Below Alres with the 15 pesos. ID, I have a solution for every time you hear a thank you, especially when talking to Fias. Say, happy to hell. Love your street.
Happy to hell. That's funny. All right. Hopefully, the next guest will behave better than the last. We got Toe Muncher 22 here. Toe Muncher, I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions. All right, well, Toe Muncher, I don't understand. I don't understand why they do that. It's not funny. It's just annoying, and you make the rest of your lot look horrible. I'm gonna fix this a little bit, make it a little bit smaller. Now, Will.i.am was in the comment section in the box, but they disappeared, so I don't know where they went. Hopefully we'll have them. He travels in pairs. More like Bible hating guy than Bible guy. No, Ben, I'm the Bible guy because I know the Bible better than you. Specifically you. Not saying I know the Bible better than everyone. There are plenty of scholars who know the Bible better than me, 100%. But I know the Bible better than most TikTok Christians. That's why I'm called the Bible guy. They don't like that I'm called the Bible guy. It's so funny. But at the end of the day, I've earned the title more times over than they ever will. So we're going to bring up the next guest from YouTube. Let's see. Hello there, guest. What's your name?
Well, hopefully I'm a little more agreeable than that last fella. He was quite belligerent.
Yeah. Well, what should I call you?
Greg.
Greg. All right, Greg. I'm Dalton the Bible guy. I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions, and then we can move on to the conversation. Question number 1:
shoot.
Are you at least 18 years old?
Just barely.
Okay. Question number 2: are you a Bible believer?
Okay, so that'll kind of fall into the subject. It'll be, I believe it more esoterically than literally. So
All right,
however you want to take that.
Question number 3: how much of the Bible have you read?
First time I read the Bible, I was 13, and I read it clean through that year. And I've read it many times since and went to Bible college.
All right. And then question number 4: what pronouns do you prefer to go by for the sake of my audience?
He-Man. Oh, that's pretty obvious, I think, but you can go by he.
All right. He, him. Greg, he, him. I'm Dalton, the Bible guy. Which one of the 6 points on the board did you want to discuss?
Okay, well, just for the fun of it, we'll go with number 6. The Bible is not a good source for morals. I think it can be if you take it literally. Like when I go to church now, since I started taking the Bible more esoterically than literally, I realize that the principles are more universal and can be taken more universally. And I also think that most people that use the Bible didn't take it as literally as they claimed. And because of that, they cherry picked the parts that they wanted. And so that became a good source of morals for them. So, okay, take slavery, for instance. Okay, if you're very, very literal, okay, and you take every last part of the Bible literally, kind of like that last guy was having a hard time with, well, yeah, you could say, well, the Bible's not a good source for morals. But what I think, like most people, like say the abolitionists and so forth, did was they would look at the Bible and read things like the Sermon on the Mount. And they say, oh, the meek shall inherit the earth. And they'd go, well, that doesn't, slavery doesn't jive with my sense of morality in that area. And so, I think certain people, rich people that came from Britain and were the bank owners and the rich people that could afford slave ships, like the HMS Abraham and the HMS Ezra and all those that brought the slaves over and the Muslims that sold it to, those were pretty bad people. But I think Christian abolitionists over time found slavery not compatible with their morality. And
Greg,
yeah.
The question is, but why should I take this esoteric reading for anything, because when it comes to ancient Near Eastern texts, I try to read them within the context that the original authors would have intended for them to be written. And I don't think we have any good reason to think that the authors had an esoteric understanding. I mean, perhaps Daniel, because it's apocalyptic literature, but when it comes to books like Levitical, it's meant to be a law. It's meant to be a law code. So
I agree.
When it comes to, are you just making the claim that there are good parts in the Bible that we can like sort of cherry pick from the Bible and then we can disregard the rest?
Yeah, I think the esoteric parts are not the entire Bible, but there are parts of it that are very strong esoteric, especially in the New Testament. Genesis, the beginning of Genesis has some. There's a little bit with the story of the prophet and the 42 she bears. Obviously, the 42 goes back to Egypt and so forth, and has to do with pie and all that. And you see 42 in the Bible a whole bunch of times, stuff like that. That's esoteric. But in the Gospels, now my opinion is that the 4 Gospels were written in Egypt. You get a clue when you see that Jesus came out of Egypt as a baby.
Well, the reason why the author of Matthew has Jesus coming out of Egypt as a baby is because the author of Matthew intends for Jesus to be a sort of physical representation of the people of Israel, and they came out of Egypt. It wasn't. Yeah. We don't have any really good reason to think that any of the 4 Gospels were written in Egypt.
Oh, I think there's really good reasons. For example, the oldest fragment of any gospel that we have is the P52 document, I think they said, and it's a little tiny shred of the Gospel of John. And it dates from like AD 92. And where did we find it? In Egypt. I'll posit that all the Gospels were written in Egypt, pretty close to the Library of Alexandria, where all those philosophers were writing and making this sort of literature and writing it for the kingdom. That is, or not the kingdom, the Roman Empire. And I think that was where the Gospels were written and thought through and philosophized.
By the way, the P52 dates to the year 200 CE, not 90 CE. That's when we think the Gospel of John may have been written, but the actual fragment P52 dates to the early 3rd century CE. And that's because by the time that fragment is being written, Christianity has already spread to Egypt. But when it comes to as far as we can tell, the 4 Gospels were probably written in either Asia Minor, around the Roman area, or Palestine.
Okay, you might be right. I'm not looking at that fact right in front of me, but it seems like that's what I remember reading. But it was older than that.
Let me take a look. I've got.
I mean, I could be mistaken. I don't know everything perfectly.
No, that's fine. We can just find out together. I've got here a collection of all these different manuscripts of the Gospels. Let's take a look and see if we can find where is P52. Let's see. P52 is not here. Is it going to be one of the here?
While you're looking that up, I'll also say that if you ever get a hold of a Masonic Bible, it tells you inside the Masonic Bible to interpret the mysteries through the Egyptian mysteries.
Well, that's just because the Masonic Bible is recontextualizing the writings of the Gospels in order to like fit a certain sort of later agenda. But we don't put a lot of consideration into how did later groups of people come to interpret these ancient texts. We want to know how did people who wrote the text would have interpreted the text.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of proof within the text of the Gospels, especially that they were very esoteric minded, and that it almost definitely, well, not almost, it definitely had to have come from people who believed in Greek philosophy. And, I can give you several examples of that are, in my opinion, pretty hard to deny, really. I mean, I
agree that the authors of the Gospels were Hellenistic Jews and therefore were inspired by, there we go, dated to around, here we go, 100 to 149 CE is when P52 is dated to generally.
So that's pretty close there. Okay.
So when it comes to the Gospels, yeah, they were inspired by Hellenistic thought, but most Jewish people, especially, Philo of Alexandria being a primary example of this, were inspired by Hellenistic philosophy, and Philo's works were written in Egypt. But when it comes to the Gospels, we don't even know who wrote them, let alone where they were written. We can only assess when and basically like what it was that the particular author was being inspired by as far as culturally we're referring to.
I posit that they were there. I can't prove absolutely factually they were written there. That's just my opinion, because like you said, the Hellenistic Jews that wrote it seem to have wrote with some serious Greco philosophy in mind. And there's the Library of Alexandria right there. And here you have in Egypt, you have the whole Nag Hammadi text. You have all those texts found by Hunt and that other guy that were Grenfell and Hunt, not far from there where the P52 was found and all that. And all this seems to have derived esoterically. And then you have some of the oldest groups of Christianity, some of which are still barely around, like the Manichaeans and so forth, that follow the Gospel of John primarily and that sort of thing. And
I think most of us would
pointing in a direction.
Most scholars would consider the Manichaeans to be a later offshoot group. If we want to know what did the earliest Jesus followers do and believe, they would have been a Jewish sect that would have observed the law of Moses, and they would have believed that their dead rabbi was the Messiah and the Logos figure from Philo's philosophy. But if you wanted to know what it was they would have believed in practice, you just had to look at the closest Jewish sect that would resemble them would be the Pharisees.
Okay, but here's some evidence that I think points towards that not being the case, that it was not actually as it is claimed to have been written, that it was more like what I'm saying is how it was. Okay, just the spell. Now, I may have to set you up for this because you may or may not have the background knowledge to, and I'm not calling you dumb or anything like that. I'm just saying you may not possess the knowledge to immediately understand what I'm saying. And if I get ahead of you, feel free to stop me and explain that. Okay. But before numerals were invented, letters were numbers, right? You had the Roman numerals in the Roman system. The Greek letters were numbers. Yes. All right. So if you take the spelling of Lord Jesus Christ as
in
it
what
was
language?
In Greek.
Why Greek? Greeks didn't use gematria. The Jewish people did.
No, the Greeks did heavily. Now,
but also I don't put a lot of stock into gematria because it's just it's a later invention. There's nothing inherently true about gematria. I don't believe in number magic.
No, I don't believe in it. I believe they did. The people who wrote it did. Just like Irenaeus would sit around and try to calculate the value of the Antichrist and try to figure out who has that name so that he could figure out who the Antichrist was in 150. I mean, so this idea was already going on back then. So they definitely used the gematria value of the Greek letter.
They would have used it there. I can only think of two examples though in the New Testament where they are using gematria, one of them explicitly being Revelation 13, and the other one perhaps maybe being Matthew chapter 1, where the author is using 14 as a number in reference to Jesus and 14 as the numerical equivalent for the name David. But besides that, there really isn't a lot of gematria in the Bible. There isn't any gematria in the Bible outside of those two passages.
I disagree wholeheartedly. Just the name Lord Jesus Christ itself is clearly a construction of gematria that solves an isopsephy puzzle for a bigger, higher concept.
A construction? Jesus is just the Greek equivalent of Yeshua.
I saw you explain that the other day to somebody.
It's also the name of Joshua. It's also the name of Joshua from the Old Testament. His name is also Jesus.
Okay. And it has a value of 888 in Greek. Now, Lord Jesus Christ, when you put those letters together, specifically, it puts a the concept together of squaring the circle of the earth. So if you put the circle inside of it, it gives you the diameter of the earth times 4. So it's like what's a square around the earth.
This is just
And that's
pattern.
not a coincidence.
It is a coincidence. It is
No.
simply
That's way
it is-
too precise to be coincidence.
it's simply just extreme pattern recognition. People do this all the time with lots of different things. When I was younger, I was obsessed with the number 23, and I thought 23 was hidden in everything, and I would do elaborate math in order to like come to the conclusion that everything was 23. But
people
how-
can do that, my friend. People can do
Yes.
that. Okay, and it's easy to do if
And
you really want
Jesus-
to.
And
But
Jesus
this-
being called Lord Jesus Christ is just that Lord is the typical title that you would give to a king of Israel. Like King David was also called Lord, Kyrios in Greek, or Adonai in Hebrew, or Adonai in Hebrew. Christos is just means the anointed one. It's a concept that was already heavily embedded within the Jewish framework.
Yeah, this one's way too precise to be coincidence. I mean, if I was like saying, hey, everything out there is 3168, that'd be different. But this was put together specifically. And you even think like the Cairo of Christ, even the word Christ is a construction. Because
It just means anointed one. It's the Greek
yes, and it comes
translation
out of Egypt.
of the Hebrew.
And
Well,
sure,
no,
and
it
it
doesn't
comes out of
It doesn't come out of Egypt. It's a word that Greeks would have used to describe anyone who is like smeared with grease or oil.
all right. Well, you have a city called the Cairo, the shining star, the Cairo, and it that it looks like an X and a P together. That's kind of looks like a shining star,
Well, that's because that's an early Christian symbol. Christians took the first two letters of Jesus, of the word Christ, Cairo, and then formed a Christogram out of it. But that's after the belief in Jesus has already become a thing, not before.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. There's an esoteric connection to it. Perhaps you've ever gone to a chiropractor, and what's the symbol? It's the
No.
vertebrae
Wait a
with the
minute.
wings.
Let's see what the actual etymology of Cairo is because this. Let's see, etymology of chiropractor. Does it have anything to do with the actual Greek letters chi and rho, or does it just sound like the letters chi rho and we're drawing a connection there? It comes from the Greek. Let's see, the Greek hero, meaning hand, and pratein, to do or practice. It has nothing to do with like the letters chi and rho. Hero is spelled chi epsilon iota rho, but this is a completely different word than the word Christo. Christos is used not only for Jesus in the Old Testament, it's also used for King David. It's also used for King Cyrus. It's just the word, or for any high priest of Israel, also called Christos, because that's just the Greek translation of the Hebrew word Mashiach, which means anointed one.
Yeah. So when you put all three together, Lord Jesus Christ, it goes together. I'm saying the word Christ itself is a construction from the Cairo, and the Cairo means the shining star.
No,
That's why
the exact opposite. The Cairo comes from Christos, not Christos from the Cairo. The Cairo symbol didn't exist until Christianity was already well established within the Mediterranean. It's a Christian symbol. Before Christianity existed, the Cairo symbol that you're familiar with didn't exist as a standardized symbol.
I don't understand how it couldn't be, because you literally have a city of the Greeks called Cairo, still today in Egypt, just under
Cairo,
the Library of Alexandria.
The name
established by
Cairo.
who?
If we look at the etymology, let's take a look at the etymology for the city of Cairo. Where do we get that name? Let's see.
I've already looked it up, but you're welcome to again. But it comes from the Cairo, from the two Greek letters.
No, it comes from Arabic. Al-Kahira, which means the victorious, the vanquisher, the conqueror.
The vanquishing star, the conquering star.
But it has nothing to do with the Greek letters chi and rho.
Look
It's
at the
from an
Cairo,
Arabic.
they look like a star. It's the same.
I know,
why.
but the Cairo symbol was invented by Christians after Christianity was already established.
All right, but this is there. That's why Constantine could go out and he could see the Cairo in the sky and said, "In this sign, conquer."
He didn't see a Cairo in the sky. According to the legend, he saw a cross in the sky. It's probably because, as is typical, if you look at the sun, it will like form like a cross symbol. It wasn't a Cairo he saw.
I think people disagree with that.
No, that's the standard. That's scholarly consensus.
I mean,
you're drawing you're drawing connections to a bunch of words that sound similar, but etymologically speaking, they have completely different origins and are unrelated. But because they sound similar, you're drawing connections to them. But that's like when we want to consider what these words actually mean in their history, they don't have anything to do with each other.
No, I disagree with you, my friend. I think they do go together. I think that is
you can't disagree.
Presented it fairly well there.
You can't disagree with the facts, though. Cairo comes from an Arabic word, not Greek. Al-Kahira.
They're both Indo-European roots. They would have had the same roots.
One's no, that's Middle Eastern. Arabic is Middle Eastern, not European.
I'm pretty sure it's an Indo-European root, but you're welcome to look it up.
If you go back far enough, sure.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Yeah. The Semitic languages are not Indo-European. They have a different root called it's called Proto-Semitic is the origin root for those particular languages, not Indo-European. It's a different language group. But again, you're talking about two Greek letters versus an actual Arabic word. And the letters Chi and Rho don't have any inherent meaning to them until you put them together in a word. Al-Kahira is an Arabic word that is made up of Arabic letters that has nothing to do with the Greek equivalents.
Yeah. And even the Arabs themselves, they had a gematria that they used as well. So it would make sense that it would go together. I can't remember the word for it, but I talked to some people that knew about it really well one time, and I'm sorry, my mind is forgetful, but they had a whole system of gematria they also used back then.
Hey, AJ Everyday, thank you for that. By the way, the Semitic languages, Proto-Semitism, and also the Egyptian language go back even further to a language called Afro-Asiatic, so different than Indo-European. They're not related to Greek and Arabic, not related to each other.
Okay. I'd be really surprised if they didn't eventually come together somewhere in the Indo-European line. It would be logical, but maybe you have to go back a little farther. But
Greg, I got another guest waiting, but thank you for coming.
All right. Okay, just so you know, there are some other examples in the Bible, like the 153 fish, and why is it 153, and what that means, how that goes with the Vesica Pisces, and so forth, that are also esoteric symbols that are all throughout the Gospels.
On this channel, we don't really, at the end of the day, we really just don't care about mysticism and esotericism. It's not like I love it or believe it,
my friend. My point is, I think they did.
I don't think they did to the extent that I would suggest actually looking into the standardized consensus of scholarship on this point, from actual scholars, credible scholars. But anyways, we're going to move on, but hey, you have a good day.
Hey, you too, man.
Gee whiz. All right. I hate esotericism. All right. I tell Cohen, shalom. I'm Dalton the Bible Guy. I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions and then we can move on to the conversation.
All right. But just before, I'm not an English speaker, so English is not my native language. So you'll have to forgive me if you need to speak a little slower.
Okay. Question number 1. Are you at least 18 years old?
I do.
Question number 2. Are you a Bible believer?
I am.
Question number 3. How much of the Bible have you read?
Pretty much of it. I'm a Jewish. I'm not Christian.
You've read the entire Tanakh?
Yeah, we do.
All right.
We actually we getting like all over the Tanakh like every year. So I'm not claiming I know like all of it, but I know pretty much.
All right, ATL. Then my final question is, what pronouns do you prefer to be called by? Do you prefer to be called a he and him, or she and her, or
he and
him? All right. ATL Cohen, he, him. I'm Dalton, the Bible guy. Which one of the 6 points on the board did you wish to discuss with me?
So on the 6th one, you claim the Bible is not a good source for a moral.
Correct.
But as I see it, moral is a subjective object. So claiming
when I say moral, I'm referring to something which is good for the well-being of human beings. So if something is contrary to the well-being of human beings, then objectively speaking, it would be immoral. And if it's if it's in line with human well-being and flourishing, then it would be objectively moral. That's what I mean by moral.
First of all, that's an arbitrary term for moral.
Well, it's what we mean. It's what we mean here on this channel when we say moral.
Oh, I see. So I didn't know that. But even if that's what you're saying, so say we can't agree of something like that everyone could agree it's good for. Say I don't want to say that word, but the atheist says claiming all Europe is good for them, but it's not necessarily a good thing. You see, because they need I can't like recall the exact term. So they want more land. So that's what they saw as good. And the
but here on this channel though, when we mean good, what we mean by good is, does it actually help us? Does it contribute to the goal of well-being? That's what we mean by good here. So the question is, does the Tanakh support morality in the sense of, does it help with the flourishing and well-being of humans, or is it a detriment to it? And is it good, meaning does it help us get to that goal?
I think. Wait, are you considering good being for what you see as good?
For whatever is helping us reach the goal of well-being for human beings.
But well-being itself needs like define like what well-being is.
Yeah, well-being would be like, for example, health would be an example of well-being, mental stability, flourishing. These are examples of well-being, like shalom
of the whole universe,
of human beings specifically.
All right.
So, do you think that the Torah is for example, the Torah is pro the well-being of all people?
If that's you like what you consider moral, I don't know. So it's not. But that's not what I saw for like as a moral.
Do you think moral is simply whatever Hashem, God, dictates, that is what is moral?
No, I think moral is something subjective, and every civilization has like moral is a group of.
So you think that God's law is subjective?
No, actually, the Torah is the only objective.
So when I
Moral
said,
and
so
all the others.
so then I'll ask again, when Hashem, God, gives a command, a mitzvah for you to do, is that mitzvah objectively good and moral?
Yeah.
All right. So if Hashem told you to go into a city and to murder a bunch of men, women, and children, and even babies, that would be moral and good.
That's exactly my point. You can't judge
Is it moral?
like if you're asking me as a human being in the 21st century, no, it's not.
Oh, no,
Like,
I'm asking you.
it's
I'm
not
asking
just
you.
because-
I'm asking you as I would guess a from Yehudi who actually observes the Torah and believes that Hashem is real and that Hashem's mitzvot are objectively moral and good. Would you believe that it would be morally upright for you to go out and kill a bunch of people, including babies, if Hashem commanded you to do so?
I'll tell you what. It sounds like a trap, because if I'll say it does, people will judge me for with their moral, and it sounds like.
Don't be afraid of MS. Don't be afraid of MS, dude. If what you're saying is MS, if it's truth, then you shouldn't be afraid of stepping into a trap.
So I think so what God says should be the left, whatever it is, should be the direct order and the only thing we should go by.
So just to confirm, if Hashem told you to go into a village and murder a bunch of babies and to grind them up into baby paste, that would be the good and moral thing to do in your worldview.
Like I can question like why he did, like why he chose to say that.
You can question it, but are you going to obey him?
Then I know he's the last word, like of.
Would it be moral and right to do what Hashem declares you to do?
Would be moral. He is the moral, so apparently,
but
yes.
So you would kill a bunch of babies if God told you to, and your God is evil. And if you're going to listen to what he says, then listen, dude.
No way. God is evil.
Then listen, dude. Then listen, dude. Well, evil in this case would just be malicious behavior, which runs contrary to well-being. You're obviously your standard is I'll do whatever God says. My standard is I don't give a fuck who says what. If someone tells me to kill a baby, I'm not doing it. If there is a God and he told me to kill a baby, I could tell God to go fuck himself 100%. That's the difference between me and you. I would never kill a baby. You would if God told you to.
But you know that killing a baby is a bad thing. Is
not
also
if
something.
Not if God tells you to do it.
No. Listen up. I'm saying killing babies is a bad thing. Is something you inherited, since that's the what we learn as Western moral. Like we all born to it.
Yes. So, the morals that we currently have, where we say, no, we don't kill babies, is infinitely superior and more moral than the Iron Age ethics of a bunch of goat herders. 100%.
I don't think so.
Yes, because yeah, and that's fine. You can go out and you can kill all the babies you want. I'm not going to do it. Honestly, if you are killing babies at Yahweh's command simply because Yahweh said so, then you're no better than the Nazis who killed all the Jewish people in the Holocaust all because Hitler said so.
I don't think you should say this word, like, not for me, but for TikTok, because I think they.
I don't care about TikTok. I don't care about TikTok. I don't care about TikTok's terms of service in this case. I'm going to say it. You are morally as bankrupt as those men are, because you're just willing to do whatever the fuck your God says, irrespective of whether or not it's actually like beneficial to humans or not. And that's utterly and morally reprehensible and disgusting.
That's your opinion, I guess.
Yeah, it's my opinion that killing babies is wrong, and it's your opinion that killing babies is a-okay if God says so. So, hey, ATL, thank you for showing my audience how much of a huge piece of shit you are, and have a bad day. Man. Well, there you go, guys. I guess you all's baby pays for the day. Hey, bud. Oh, I guess that was an. Thank you for the glasses. I guess that was an accident on your part, Reverend. Gee whiz. Man, it's crazy. All right, we're gonna read some super chats.
At Mustache Mac with the $5. To fulfill the law means to follow it, right? Example, if I fulfill the speed limit means I follow the speed limit. Is that what Jesus means?
In part. So the Greek word for fulfill in Matthew 5:17 is the Greek word pleroma. Pleromai actually is the version of the word that's used there. Pleromai. It means to make full. Envision, for example, a glass of water which is halfway full and it gets filled to the brim. This is what it means to make full something. Now, when Jesus says that he came to make full the law of God, this is simply bringing out the inner depths of the law, bringing out a fuller obedience to it and to observe it. It doesn't mean setting it aside because I did it. And that doesn't make any sense. That's Paul's theology, not the theology of Jesus. Paul and Jesus disagreed on this matter, 100%. But thank you for the question. What the hell?
At Sarah Stranding with the $2 Canuck bucks and 79 cents. Love ya, Duncan/Dalton. Cook.
Well, yeah, we're cooking them up nice and toasty for you guys today. Hopefully you get your filling for today. I hope you guys are enjoying the cookout.
And Furtive Patah with the $1.99. Gematria, astrology for the biblically illiterate.
Yeah, I mean, gematria is an interesting thing in the idea that, we have examples of it in the New Testament, but outside of that, it doesn't really hold to any, it's not valid in any way. Number magic will never be convincing to an atheist. And we can use number magic against you, Christians. Fun fact, if you look at the Hebrew word for Messiah being Mashiach, and the Hebrew word for serpent, Nachash, they have the same numerical value. So what should I conclude? That Jesus was sent by the serpent from the garden and is therefore evil? You can make any kinds of crazy conclusions you want to, if you pick and choose like the patterns and whatnot. But thank you for the super chat. So everyone, make sure you are tapping that screen, sharing the live with those you love, with those you hate, with your friends and with your enemies. If you are on YouTube, feel free to call in at tinyurl.com/Bible Guy guest if you want to have a conversation with me. Christians on TikTok, feel free to call in as well. Let's see if anyone out there has a good reason for me to believe contrary to any of the 6 points on the board. Seems like right now we got 25K likes on TikTok. So hey guys, I want to see you guys Tap. Let's see if we can get to 50K. That'd be fun for this Saturday day. Oof. Let's see. I thought you despised conspiracy theory. Seems you're still running on your mom's birthday vibe. Running on your mom's birthday vibes? I do absolutely despise conspiracy theories. Hate that shit with a passion. Are you the guy that is on with Justin sometimes? I am the guy who is on with Justin sometimes. And Justin's the guy who's on sometimes with me. Now, the reason I hate conspiracy theories so much with a passion is I used to work at a restaurant here in Texas, and my boss got involved with QAnon. He got heavy into that QAnon bullshit, and he was always pestering all of us. He was always pestering us with all of his conspiracy theories, and I hated that shit. And now I despise conspiracy theories with a passion. In John 7:19, Jesus says it kills him that they don't keep the law of Moses. Yeah. Shit, I'm in Texas too. The amount of people here that believe in conspiracy theories is insane. Yeah, it is. There are a lot of MAGA conspiracy theorists out here in Texas. It's quite sad. Liz says, I'm watching on YouTube on my TV and commenting here. Hell yeah, Liz. Love to see that. Funny how we found the PDF files they predicted, but they shut up. Yeah. Don't want to push back on them. You have big bugs in Texas? I don't think they're any bigger here than anywhere else in America. This is in Australia. Australia is the place where you got big bugs that are problems. As bad as Texas is, it's not nearly as dangerous as the land down under. Now, some of those spiders in Australia get massive. The Goliath spider, aptly named because apparently it's just big as a motherfucker. I look up animal deaths when thinking about moving. Like, oh yeah, okay. Like how many people die from animals in a given region before you decide to move there? Waterbug says, hell no to the spiders. Listen, generally we don't kill spiders here. Here at the Bible Guy household, we'll like move them outside. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of spiders, even though I won't kill them. The only time I ever kill spiders if somehow they've gotten on me, in which case all bets are off. Moving them outside basically kills them. I'd rather let the elements do it than let me do it. I don't like killing things. Moving spiders outside always reminds me of that scene from Malcolm in the Middle. Well, I've never seen Malcolm in the Middle, so I don't have anything to say about that. But it does remind me of a meme I saw once where a guy found a bug and then he moves it outside, and then the bug's outside and goes, and you see a little speech bubble above the bug. He says, oh, "Fuck, I hate it out here." Whoa, spiders are not trying to hurt you. I mean, they aren't trying to, but I've been bitten by a spider before. I have been bitten by a spider. Will your mustache and goatee ever meet? No, that's not how that works. I mean, I shave right here specifically. I don't like the way that my goatee looks when it's like fully grown. I don't like it. Hi there. I'm watching your live all the way from South Africa. Hell yeah, brother. Hello to South Africa from the Bible Guy. I always delights me when I find out that we got people from all over watching the show. But we got some super chats, and then hopefully we'll get some Christians will gird their loins and come up and have a conversation. We'll see.
At Corbin 3x6 with the $6.66. Hail Nero. Jeremiah 19 verse 9. Gross, right? Fuck their evil god. Hail Satan.
I'm not immediately aware. Let me take a look. Yes. I'm sure this is going to be a very disgusting passage. Jeremiah chapter 19. verse 9. Let's see. Oh yeah, and I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and the flesh of their daughters, and all shall eat the flesh of their neighbors, and the siege and in the distress with which their enemies and those who seek their life afflict them. Yeah, Yahweh punishes his people for sin by making them eat each other. What a sick, sadistic bastard. Am I right? Am I right, folks? Okay, let's see. And at Flip 40, at Flip with the $6.66 as well. Hail Satan.
With the $6.66, hail Satan. With a Scottish moniker like Duncan, I need to hear you say, she canna take any more, Captain. Please roll that R. Love the show.
She cannot take any more, Captain. Is this Star Trek? She can't take any more, Captain. She just can't take it. I don't know very much about Star Trek, guys. I didn't watch Star Trek. I did watch the Orville though, and immensely loved it. But I did recognize that as a Star Trek reference. So I'm not totally lost, everyone.
And at Oppo Light, hey Oppo, with the $4.99, can you go over how day in Genesis means an actual day? Ran into an apologist today trying to say the Israelites use it as a metaphor.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we take a look at the actual, like, what does the Bible say in regards to the word day? We see in Genesis chapter 1 that they tell us what day means. Genesis chapter 1, verse 5, God called the light day, Yom, and the darkness he called night, Laila. V'yehi erev, and there was evening. V'yehi boker, and there was morning. Yom echad, one day, or day one. And for the author of Genesis, a day refers to the rising and setting of the sun, what we attribute to being a day. This is unambiguous. Anyone who claims otherwise is merely coping with the fact that that Adam didn't die the day that God said he would die. But we're used to that, aren't we? Ask them if Jesus was dead for 3,000 years and see what they say.
At Carolyn Wu with the $1.99. Playoff football on TV. Barbecue on phone. Let's go.
Absolutely. Glad to be accompanying you while you're watching football. And Bible Baby keeps coming up and then going down. Bible Baby, you are a liar. You told me that you weren't a Christian and that you didn't believe in the Bible. Then you went on another live and told my friend Elizabeth that you were a Christian and that you did believe in the Bible. What the fuck are you? I know what you are. You're a goddamn liar. He's a piece of shit. I know that already. We've spoken to him before. You don't need to excommunicate him, blase. Just let him sit here and stew in his lying. If you are a Christian, Bible Baby, know that liars have a place in the lake of fire, according to the Bible. Keep that in mind.
At Carlos Valdez would defy the Bible Guy gift memberships. W. Carlos Valdez.
Everyone go to W for Carlos Valdez. Always sending the Bible Guy gift memberships. We love Carlos Valdez here. Also, I might be the Bible Guy, but I'm not the father of Bible Baby. Although as badly as I owned him, he might as well call me daddy. You know?
And at Carlos Valdez again with the 200 pesos. Just passing by and loving the stream. Saludos.
Saludos to you too as well, Carlos. Happy to see you, bud. And
At a very good wizard went to $5. Enjoying the stream, Dalton. Keep on cooking.
well, I would love to keep on cooking if we had any Christians that were brave enough to come up here and talk. But I don't know what's going on with the Christians lately. They do not like coming up here. I think it's because they when they realized that I knew the Bible better than them, they decided, oh boy, maybe I should go and read my book for once before talking to this guy. Hopefully when they read their book, they'll become an atheist, because that's how that works. Danny says all the believers are too scared to come up. I believe it. I believe me. Yeah, Redhead Liz says he told me he was a preterist. Yeah, Bible baby, you told my friend Liz that you were a preterist. You told me you weren't a Bible believer, that you weren't a Christian. You're a goddamn liar. Many Christians have this weird thought that because they believe they don't need to read it, which is wild. Which is wild because, like, when I was a Christian, I knew I had to read my Bible. And because I read my Bible, I became an atheist. Maybe that's why they avoid reading the Bible, because if they really learn, because, you know, familiarity breeds contempt. Can you explain what does being made in the image of God mean according to the ancient world writers? So the word for image in the Hebrew of Genesis 1:27 is the Hebrew word zelem. And zelem simply refers to like image. Like, for example, a statue is an image. If you found a statue of Zeus, it is made b'tselem, in the image of Zeus. To say that human beings were made in the image of God, while later philosophical innovations were attacked onto this, so to make it mean more than what it really means, at the end of the day, it simply meant that human beings were made to look like the gods and nothing more.
And at Herbie Shine with the £5. Good. What? You don't watch Star Trek? Well, goodbye, sir. Unsub, you monster.
No, I've never seen Star Trek. I don't know if I ever will get around to watching it, but I did watch the Orville. And if anyone has, if you're a fan of Star Trek out there and you haven't watched the Orville, I think you'll like it. It's like a love letter to Star Trek. It's hilarious. It's produced by Seth MacFarlane, and he's even plays the captain in the show. It's really good. Glitter says, what are the implications of God having an erection and not when he made man in his image? Or not when he made man in his image? I mean, he has to be able to get erections, or else he cannot copulate with his goddess wife, Asherah, to produce the 70 sons of God. Now, there was a question in the Talmud, this is somewhat related, where the rabbis asked themselves, you know, whether or not Adam was created circumcised or uncircumcised. And one of the conclusions that they came to was that Adam was created uncircumcised because he was made in the image of God, which would insinuate that God is uncircumcised. So why God creates the rest of us with foreskins, I'll never understand. But sucks for Adam being born without a foreskin. That sucks. You lose all those nerve endings. Of course he was born cut. God thinks foreskins are gross. Yes. As the running theory on this channel has been that foreskins are to Yahweh what garlic is to Dracula. That's why he gets all the people to get rid of the foreskins, or else he won't be able to get near them. Bro, what's your point? Well, Redeemed, if you open your ears, maybe you'll see. But sadly, when it comes to these Christians, they have eyes, but they do not see, ears, but they do not hear. But we got another guest. Danny. Hello, Danny. I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions. before we move on through the conversation. Question number 1, Danny, are you at least 18 years old?
I am, yeah.
Question number 2, are you a Bible believer?
I am, yeah.
Question number 3, how much of the Bible have you read?
I would say like 3/4.
All right, and final question, what pronouns do you prefer to go by?
She, her.
All right, she, her. Danny, she, her. I'm Dalton, the Bible guy. Which one of the 6 topics on the board did you want to discuss with me?
Yeah, what pronouns do you prefer?
He, him.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, specifically the 6th, because I just feel as though that the first 5 are just like very silly, so I just don't even want to get into that. But yeah, so where does your like grounding come from for this truth claim that the Bible is not a good source for morals?
Yeah, so when I say morals, I simply mean that which is consistent with well-being for humans. And I would say that, for example, a woman being owned as the property of a man is not consistent with her well-being.
Well, I don't know if I would like firmly accept like your definition for morals. I wouldn't say that it's like it only pertains to good things for people.
That's
That's
what we
not how
mean
we
on this
view
channel.
morality.
That's how we
Well,
view
sure.
morality. If you have a different
Right.
definition, that's fine. But on this
Well, when we're
channel,
talking about
when we say
well,
morals, we mean that which is consistent with the well-being of individuals.
yeah, but when we're talking about morals, there can be like poor morals, right?
Yeah, which would be things which do not contribute to the well-being of individuals.
Okay, so then it's not just like a positive claim. It's not just that like, well, they're only good things that could be for individuals. It's going to be like good or bad.
Well, I would say that if it's not consistent with well-being, then it's not moral. It'd be a poor moral.
But it would still be a moral claim.
I would say it'd be immoral. If you're doing something which is contrary to well-being, like for example, if you force someone to eat battery acid, that's not consistent with their well-being. That would be immoral.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, yeah. So, do you hold to subjective morality?
I'm a moral realist. I think that because when I say morals, I'm referring to well-being, we can objectively know what is and isn't in accordance with well-being.
Okay. Well, then what's going to be like within like this like definition of what's going to be good for a human being? Like, how do we know that?
Yeah, by like we can objectively like view an individual. Like for example, if I cut off a person's head, is that going to be? Can we know objectively whether that's good or bad for their well-being?
I wouldn't say objectively, no.
So you think it's subjective? It's subjective that cutting a person's head off is not conducive to the well-being of the individual.
Well, I think all morality would just be subjective. So
no, it's not. Not if by morality we mean that which is conducive to well-being. If that's what we mean by morality, then we can make objective statements about what is and isn't conducive to the well-being of an individual.
can you prove that of like somebody's well-being is always going to be like an objective truth? Like it's going to be the same for everybody?
Yeah, it's always going to be wrong to cut off someone's head. It's never going to make them healthier. Do you disagree?
Right. So why does it have to make somebody healthier for it to be a good thing?
Because that's what well-being refers to.
That's just like presupposing. I don't think that's true.
Nope, that's just the definition of well-being. Unless you have a different definition for what is and isn't like well-being.
Well, I think well-being is going to be subjective. I think what like makes me a well-being may differ from you.
Is cutting a person's head off subjectively against their well-being?
Wait, we're talking about like one specific example. I'm saying like in general, somebody's well-being is going to be subjective.
Is beating someone with a rod within an inch of their life, so unless they don't die in 2 or 3 days, is that conducive to their well-being or not?
Well, we could say that it's not. Like, even if I like concede to that, why ought I not do it?
This is the first time, guys, we've ever met a Phil sis before. This is wild. First time for everything, I suppose.
I'm not a Phil bro. I'm not a Phil bro.
Yeah, you're a Phil sis. So now,
I'm not that. I don't really dig into philosophy.
Under any regular circumstance, if we weren't talking about religion, any regular person on a day-to-day basis would know that, for example, beating someone within an inch of their life would not be conducive to their well-being, and they wouldn't need to ask further questions. about what these words mean because we're all human beings with
we
brains.
should. Wait,
So
I think we should when we're talking about morality.
what definition do you have for what is well-being?
Well, I don't know if I would give an objective definition. I think that it would just be subjective. But could you answer my question?
Which was?
Yeah, even if I concede to the fact that beating someone with a rod is going to be morally unacceptable, why ought I not do it?
Why ought? Because the rest of us will put you in a room if you don't stop doing that stuff to other people. As human beings, well, you don't have to. But again, we'll just all take care of you collectively. Human beings are a social species. We've evolved to be a social species. So when an individual does something in the group which is harmful to the group, we all want to take care of that person. Back in the day, we used to, do horrible things to them. Now we generally put them in a room, lock them away. Now you can do whatever the fuck you want, but the rest of us, we're going to take care of you.
Okay, this is literally just a you ought to not.
What's your goal?
So dumb.
What's your goal? Your goals can determine what ought to be.
Yeah.
So
my goal is going to.
Yeah.
Yeah. My goal is going to be just to do something that's preferable to me. That's going to be my goal. I want to do something that I find to be preferable. I just want to know.
Is being locked away preferable for you?
It might be, maybe.
So locking you away, I want you to be honest with us, Philsis. Do you think that you being locked away in a cell is preferable? Is that what you want?
Well, it doesn't have to be preferable to me. However,
no, we're
talking about multiple examples.
We're talking about you. We're talking about you. We're talking about you. Is it sure.
Then I can. Yeah, that's fine. I can hold that position. I don't mind. Yeah, we can say that.
Do you actually? No.
Wait,
no,
yes,
shut up. Shut up, Philsis. Do you want to be in a jail cell? Is that what you honestly remember? If you're a Christian, lying is a sin. Don't be a fucking liar. You'll end up in the lake of fire. So, Philsis, do you want to be in a jail cell?
Yeah, so when we're having this discussion, it's going to be for the sake of the argument. This isn't
we're not doing for the sake of the argument. I want your honest feelings on this. Do you want to be in a jail cell?
Are you going to let me talk, or are you just going to keep muting me?
As long as you're honest. I don't deal with liars. What do you want?
But that's that's just not going to be the argument.
I'll just keep asking you until you either leave or you answer the question. Do you want to be in a jail cell? I'll give you 10 seconds. Do you want to be in a jail cell? All right. So if you don't want, it is the argument. So if you don't want to be in a jail cell, it's not preferable to you, then in order to reach that goal, you ought not to go around beating people because it's not conducive to your goal, which is your well-being and what is preferable to you. You wouldn't want to be in a jail cell. Therefore, you ought not to beat people up.
Would you agree that my preferences are going to be the exact same as everybody else?
No, but is there someone who wants to be in a jail cell? But we're talking about you.
Yeah, I'm sure there would be.
There are people who want to throw their life. There are people who want to throw their lives away and they want to be in a jail cell.
Yeah, some people don't have anything outside of a jail cell, right? They're not going to have a home. They have no food, whatever. So it may be preferable to be in a jail cell. Yeah, correct.
All right, but not you. So you ought not to beat people.
To that. Yeah, I already conceded to that.
So you've already admitted to us that since it's not preferable for you to be in a jail cell, you ought not to go around beating people up.
Sure, but then are you just conceding that it's just simply preferences? Is that what you're conceding to?
No, because when I say morals, I'm referring to well-being.
You're just you're completely this is a huge circular argument. You're just not.
Well, no, that's the definition of the word. if you have a different definition for what it is and isn't moral, then we're just talking about two different things. We need to come to an agreement as to what we mean by the word moral. It's like chess. The rules of chess are completely made up, but once we agree on the rules of chess, then we can make objective statements about what is and isn't like a legal move on the board. So do we agree as to what we mean by moral? If not, then we're going to keep talking past each other.
Yeah, well, clearly I'm holding to the stance of a moral subjectivist. So obviously, we're going to be differing.
Wait, you're a Christian and a moral subjectivist.
No, I'm doing this for the sake of the argument. I'm trying to explain to you why I believe that the Bible is.
Stop giving me the sake of the argument and give me your actual position. You're not actually a moral subjective. Well, you might actually be. Oh, did they? Oh, they ran away. They ran away. Can we get some track stars in the comment section? Man, that is crazy. They always want to like debate from someone else's perspective. No, I don't give a shit about that. I want to know what it is that you believe, and you're not actually a moral subjectivist. You believe that morals are objective. But the question is, what do you mean by morals? So look at that. First fail or Phil sis, everybody. So that's there's a first for everything. That's wild. All right, let's see if we got any super chats. We got here
at Nate versus the Bible with the $5. Phil bro or Phil sis, they are all Phil cry babies. Absolutely. Every single of them.
They don't like to talk about the Bible. They don't like to actually be held down and like forced to answer a question, which is why they all end up crashing out or running away. What if 2026 is the year of the Phil sis? Oh God, we don't need more of them. Can this be the year of the Bible bros and Bible sisses? I want to see more people who are actually wanting to talk about what the Bible says instead of their later philosophical innovations, which are all complete bullshit. Phil sisses unite, then cry. Apparently, young women can have diminished cognitive capacities. This one did. Generally, a lot of the women we talk to are a lot more mentally capable than the Christian men we talk to. But not in this case. The brain rot has reached her as well. Non-religious atheistic worldviews can't provide prescriptions, including values in pursuing truth. Fun fact, atheism is not a worldview. Atheism isn't a worldview. Naturalism is a worldview. That's a worldview. Secular humanism is a worldview. But atheism is not a worldview. It's a single answer to a single question. Do you believe in a God? The answer is no, I don't. They are also disingenuous and play semantics, deflect instead of just having a conversation. Yeah, I said atheistic worldviews. There's no such thing as an atheistic worldview. So I don't know what you're referring to. And also, I don't think you can give me a really firm... You're not going to be able to give me anything from morals outside of God's opinion. Let's see. Exactly. There's not a giant fucking rule book for atheism like Christianity. Right. There isn't a rule book for... An atheist could be a naturalist like me, or an atheist could also believe in spirits in an afterlife. Like, the only thing that all atheists have in common is that we lack belief in God. It's not a worldview. If you want to talk about my worldview, I'm a naturalist and a secular humanist. Those are my worldviews. Yeah, we're atheists towards just one more deity than them. Although sometimes these Christians believe in these other gods exist. They think that they are angels or whatever. So I'm not even sure if necessarily that's true.
At J. Klein with the $5. I don't Bible, but I'll entertain reasonable arguments. Bring it.
Absolutely. Listen, I wish Christians would actually like to talk about their book, talk about their Bible. But at the end of the day, Christians just generally don't know the Bible all that well. Atheistic worldviews includes all worldviews that assert atheism is true. How is this hard to understand? Well, they're not atheistic then. Just call it naturalism. Has anyone heard of How God Becomes Real by T.M. Luhrmann? Nope. Haven't read of it. Let's see. Atheists don't believe in your God the way you don't believe in anyone else's God. Yeah. Atheism is a worldview the way that non-stamp collecting is a hobby. Dalton, how often do you have Muslims come by? Not very often, but because we talk about the Bible. And when Muslims do come by, I just disrespect their prophet. Naturalism is its own worldview. No need to call it an atheistic worldview, you dolt. But are you wanting to talk about any of the 6 points on the board? Data over dogma and ancient world mythology brain rot. Agnostic atheist makes more sense. Yeah, I'm an agnostic atheist. That's how I categorize myself. Hey, we suck, whatever the hell your name is. Would you like to come up and talk about one of the 6 points on the board? What's the purpose of the Bible if not it? What's the purpose of the Bible if it's not of God? It's of humans, and its purpose is to uphold worldviews and like power systems, like patriarchal systems, for example. Do we need to do a restart? You know, I think so. Maybe we do need to do a restart. So I'll go ahead and restart the TikTok live, and hopefully that will get us some opposition in here. So I'll see you guys in just a moment. All right. I don't know what you guys had on y'all's bingo card for 2026, but Philsis wasn't on my bingo card. It's mythology, absolutely. We got here Washi Voix. I'm just gonna call you Wash. Wash, I'm going to ask you the same 4 preliminary questions I ask every one of my guests, irrespective of who they are. Question number 1, are you at least 18 years old?
No trade needed. Why can't we just say cheese? Okay, cheese. Now you can switch to T-Mobile in just 15 minutes and get a new
Nope.
17. No trade needed.
You can either mute whatever you got going on in the background. I'm not here to advertise for T-Mobile. I'll give them a moment to realize that they're on the board. If they unmute and I can still hear that TV, I'll just drop them. Gee whiz. Bill Sista rolls off the tongue better. Wash, are you at least 18 years old? All right, well, if you can't pay attention to instructions, then you'll just go down. I don't want to hear your TV in the background. Oh, holy vey. Question 1 stumped him. Yeah, he didn't know how to answer. Am I 18? I don't know. Okay, we got MAGA World 66, and then we'll go to Chosen Jewish Apologetics. That one should be fun. MAGA World 66, which one of the 6 points on the board? Oh, wait, actually, before we get to that, I got 4 preliminary questions for you. Question number 1, are you at least 18 years old? MAGA. I'm going to need you to answer in 5 seconds or I'm going to drop you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, that's exactly what I expected from a maggot, not being able to answer questions. The Chosen Jewish Apologetics. This should be fun. Chosen Jewish Apologetics. I'm just going to go Chosen. Chosen, I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions, and then we can move on to the question at hand. Question number 1, are you at least 18 years old?
Yes.
Question number 2, are you a Bible believer?
I believe in the Torah, the writings, the prophets, and the oral Torah.
So you're not Christian, you're Jewish. All right.
Jewish.
Question number 3, how much of the Tanakh have you read?
All of it, front to back.
All right. Question number 4, what pronouns do you prefer to go by?
Yeah, he, him.
All right, Chosen, he, him. I'm Dalton, the Bible guy. Which one of the 6 points on the board did you want to discuss with me?
6. Could do 5. We could do and 1. 6, 5, and 1. Do that.
Here, pick one.
We can start with 6. Start.
All right. What's your perspective on slavery? Is it moral or immoral?
Yeah. So the question is, first of all, what type of slavery is it? What are the conditions at that time? What's the intention for that slavery?
To be specific, we were referring to the purchasing of a person as property, owning them as property, and being able to pass them on to your kids as an inheritance.
Okay. Now the question is, who are these people that are being brought
Doesn't
into this one? Well, it doesn't matter.
Anyone. I don't care. I don't care who it is. Anyone. Is it all right to? Is it all right? Is it all right to own anyone as a slave in this manner?
Right. So first of all, the slavery that we're discussing that's in the Bible is not the slavery that's the African American slavery in U.S. history. It's
there is only one difference. There's only one difference between the antebellum. There's one difference between antebellum slave trade and the slavery of the Bible, and that is that the antebellum slave trade was based on race, while the slavery of the Bible was ethnically based.
Yes, that's wrong. So what's the conditions of slavery according to the Bible and the oral system? What's the conditions?
I don't care. Well, I don't care about the Talmud, so we'll talk about the Bible. You can owning the person, owning a person. I don't believe in I don't believe in the oral Torah. It's a post-biblical innovation.
You cannot believe it, but if I show you that it's literally in the written system and that it would actually be required for the Israelites to have the oral system to understand the Torah, what are you going to say? Because historically, we have the oral Torah being dated way before it was written down.
I would say first and foremost, show me where in the written Torah it mentions the oral Torah, and 2, just because the written Torah is incoherent without a later oral tradition being retroactively read back into it, doesn't mean that it. I mean, I would just take the position that the written Torah is inherently incoherent because it has contradictions in it.
And you can take that, or you can take the fact that the oral system has been there for thousands of years. It's historically documented as being there prior to its being written down. Yeah, I can give you historical. Yeah, I can give you historical. First of all, I want you to ask in your sense. Do you believe the oral system existed prior to the date of the Mishnah being written down in the 3rd century? Because if you don't, I can debunk that in a second.
It definitely existed at least by the time of the 1st century CE.
Okay, so you can agree that it existed in oral form prior to its being written down, correct?
Yeah. I just think it's a Second Temple Jewish innovation.
Yeah, for sure. So now let me show you in the Torah where it references a command being taught orally, for you to actually have that command. So you're familiar with "You will slaughter like I have commanded you," correct?
Yeah, which Yahweh told them prior to in the chapter how to slaughter.
Oh no, he didn't. He said you may slaughter and you may eat anything you like of this category. He did not. He gave them not a command of how to slaughter, but he gave the permission of what you can eat through
book
slaughter.
Chapter verse.
That's what made the difference.
Book chapter verse.
Yeah. Let me give you. I'll give you the exact verse.
Because I'm going to read prior to in the chapter where he actually gives us the instruction. Let's see.
Yeah, let's do that. So it would be Deuteronomy 12:21, where we have "V'zavachta mikrbecha mitzotecha asher natan Hashem lecha kasher tzivitecha," which is "You will slaughter like I have commanded you."
right.
Or as I've commanded.
Now, previously in the chapter, he tells them how to do the slaughtering. Let me see if I can find that. Let's see.
There's never an instruction about how to.
Yeah, it
Show me that.
was.
Every verse said.
Yeah.
It wasn't. But let's look at that.
Give me a second to look through this.
You'll only find where God gives permission on what you can do, what you're able to slaughter, not how to slaughter.
Whenever you desire, you may slaughter and eat meat within any of your towns according to the blessing that the Lord God has given you. The blood, however, you must not eat. Verse 16, the blood, however, you must not eat. You shall pour it out on the ground like water. This is him giving them instruction on how they're... Yeah, that's an instruction on what to do with the animal.
No, it's not. So that's not an instruction on slaughtering. What that's an instruction is that they're able... No, it's not.
It is. You're literally being told that you have to release the blood from the animal. This is an instruction on what you're supposed to do with the animal in order to eat it.
That's after it's been slaughtered. What you take to drain the blood. However, that's separated from the actual.
This is the process of slaughtering. This is part of the process of slaughtering.
No, it's not. It's towards the end after the slaughtering.
It's during the slaughtering.
The Torah makes a distinction between draining the blood and fat of animals and between the actual act of slaughtering. We see this in other verses prior, where the act of slaughtering itself is prior to the draining of the blood.
Here, I'll read this entire passage here, starting from verse 13. Take care that you do not offer your burnt offerings at any place you happen to see, but only at the place that Yahweh will choose in one of your tribes. There you shall offer your burnt offerings, and there you shall do everything I command you. Yet whenever you desire, you may slaughter and eat within any of your towns. So first, there's an instruction on where to slaughter, according to the blessing that Yahweh your God has given you. The unclean and the clean may eat of it, as they would of gazelle or deer. The blood, however, you must not eat. You shall pour it out on the ground like water, nor may you eat within your towns the tithe of your grain, your wine, and your oil, the firstlings of your herds, and the flocks of any of your votive gifts that you vow, your freewill offerings, or your donations. These you shall eat in the presence of Yahweh your God, at the place that Yahweh your God will choose you, together with your sons and your daughter, your male and female slaves, and the Levites. So he's telling us lots of different things on about the slaughtering process that has to be in a certain place, and you cannot, and you have to pour out the blood.
So hold on, there's a very big distinction here, which you're obviously forgetting, because I don't think you're reading it correctly. But verse 13 discusses sacrificial offering at the temple, what they would do at the temple and how they slaughter it. However, verse 21 begins with Ki yirchak mimecha hamakom, if the place is far from you. Meaning, this is a new scenario where you live far from the temple and you want to eat meat not as a sacrifice. Therefore, you are allowed to slaughter locally. Now, if we look at verse 13, it already explains.
And you would still have to pour out the blood, correct?
Hold on. Yes.
Would you?
Verse 13. Hold on. Verse 13 already explains slaughter. Verse 21 would be redundant if it were to repeat the same condition for that thing.
That's fine, because the Torah can be redundant. This is ancient work, so I don't expect them to not be redundant.
Yeah, so let's make this clear. No earlier verse explains how to slaughter. No verse gives technical rules, and no verse defines what makes slaughter valid. So when God says, "As I," no, it doesn't.
Pour out the blood. So you have to pour out the blood.
Pouring out the blood is not slaughtering. That is.
It is part of the slaughtering process.
No, it's at the end after the slaughtering is done.
Nope, as part of the slaughtering process.
No, you're adding that in there. That's not what it says.
Everyone understands that when you slaughter an animal, you pour out its blood. This is part of the slaughtering process.
So that's towards the end after the slaughtering has been done.
It's the ending of the slaughtering.
So first of all, verse 21 is V'zafachta, you shall slaughter. Verse 23 is Ra chazak libiti achol adam, do not eat the blood. So the Torah separates them. The first thing is about slaughtering the animal.
Not eating the blood is because during the slaughtering process you release the blood.
And it's previously stated.
Yeah, that's the command. That's the command on how to slaughter, what she references. You pour out the blood and then you don't eat it. The pouring out the blood part is part of the slaughtering process, and the additional commandment, don't eat the blood, is additional.
No, so the shechita is one act. The Kabbalat ha'adam, which is the collecting of the blood, separating the blood, is a separate act. So
you consider it a separate act. The rest of us don't. When you slaughter an animal, you pour out its blood.
The Jews don't. That's why the tradition.
Well, no, you don't. Well, no, you have oral traditions that come out at a much later time. We don't trust inherently those oral traditions. You'll have to show me from the text that it doesn't consider the pouring out of the blood as part of the slaughtering.
Yeah. So, for example, this is just an example to prove my point because you're ignoring my point.
It's not helping.
Well, let me show it to you. So, Genesis 9:4, when it says, "Do not eat the flesh with its blood," this applies to all humanity and says nothing about how to kill. The blood laws were already put in place as dietary, not slaughter laws. So when we're talking about eating animals without eating the blood, that's already established for all mankind.
Yeah, eating blood. The prohibition against eating blood is one commandment, but the commandment of when you slaughter an animal, you're supposed to drain the blood is another commandment.
Yeah. So if that was the case, that the slaughtering really had to do with releasing the blood, isn't it inherent that if you're slaughtering and you're eating an animal, you have to eat it without eating the blood? Because if you keep the blood in there, you're eating it. That doesn't make any sense.
No, you would pagans would pour out the blood of an animal and then they would drink the blood separately in a different container. Like this is what Norse pagans did. They would take pigs and they would slaughter them, releasing the blood. And then they would collect the blood and they would use the blood to make, like, for example, blood cakes. Like, not eating the blood is a separate commandment from the commandment of when you slaughter an animal, you're supposed to release the blood.
Yeah, but do you understand that in verse 24, this is what you're forgetting, obviously, that it says, Lo tachalnu al haaretz tishbachenu kamayim. It says, you shall not eat it. It makes it very clear in verse 24.
Don't eat the blood is its own commandment.
Hold on. Then it says, you shall pour it on the ground like water, meaning the animal. Okay, so let me finish. Meaning the animal is being poured out, the blood is being poured out, and you cannot eat it. It says that in verse 24. Verse 21 talks about slaughtering. You shall slaughter as I have commanded you. Verse 24 is separate and talks about pouring out.
And as he commanded them included the pouring out of the blood.
No, the pouring out the blood is a separate category. That's why verse 24, which you keep
we don't accept that here.
No.
That might be what your oral tradition tells you from a later perspective.
Go to verse 24.
I don't know why you keep over talking me. No one's going to be able to hear you while I'm talking. We don't accept your later oral tradition. But when the text already tells us that when you slaughter an animal, you're supposed to release its blood, and additionally, there's another commandment that you're not supposed to eat the blood. We accept that. When Yahweh tells the Israelites that you shall slaughter as I have commanded you, that means pouring out the blood.
So when I show you that you're wrong, because if you go to verse 24, I want you to read that out loud to your audience, where verse 24 talks about
do not eat it. You shall pour it out on the ground like water. So these are two different things. One is the commandment not to eat it. Secondly, is the commandment that you have to pour it out on the ground.
Great. We agree. So now it says you cannot eat the blood and you have to pour it out because you cannot leave the blood inside the animal. We agreed about this already. But verse 21 prior to that says, you shall slaughter as I have commanded you, referring to slaughtering here.
Which is given to us in verse 16.
It's not. This is where I'm showing you there's a separate category that pouring out the blood is mentioned in verse 24 as a command that you cannot eat it.
He's reiterating what was already said in verse 16.
No, he's not.
You're not. You can say no, it's not all day, but you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get any further in this. If that's all you're going to say, you're not going to get further in this conversation.
Go to verse 23.
We've already read verse 24.
Read 23. Read 23.
Fine, we'll read verse 23. This is I guess this is guys. Is this kind of Clonmore Pro Contextu? You let me know. Only be sure that you do not eat the blood, for the blood is the life, and you shall not eat the life with the meat. Do not eat it. You shall pour it on the ground like water. All right.
So if you shall slaughter as I have commanded you, is already referenced prior, then they know what that slaughter is. However, the verse after clarifies.
Let me help you out here, bud. Let me help you out here, bud. If you slaughtered the animal and poured its blood out into let's say like a bowl or like a bucket or something like that, okay, you've already slaughtered the animal, pouring its blood into the bucket. You have two options now with the blood. Yeah. You can either consume it, which is what pagans did, or you can do what Yahweh declares and pour it out on the ground.
Yeah. So is the pouring out of the blood on the ground like water, right? And not eating it, is that separate from slaughtering, or is that the slaughtering itself? Because if it's separate, it wouldn't be referenced in 21 to refer to slaughtering, and verse 24 to again reference that you're not allowed to pour it out and eat it.
I have no problem. I have no problem with the Torah repeating itself. So even though the Torah has already said that when you slaughter the animal, when the animal slaughters, you pour it out, you pour out its blood, you don't consume its blood. It's just going into more detail here.
That's two separate commands. So you're putting them as one command.
Well, no, the only difference between these two commands is where you're supposed to slaughter the animal. One is in the temple, but if you're too far away from the temple, you can do it in your own hometown. You just cannot eat the blood.
Yeah, like I have. Can you eat the blood if it's at the temple?
No, you can't eat the blood either.
Great. So if we've established that you can't eat the blood prior if it's at the temple, and then God establishes in 24 that you also can't eat the blood or pour it out in verse 23, 21 is referring to something separate, the act of slaughtering. That makes no sense that it would repeat it in 21 and then again in 24.
No, there's no problem with the Torah being being repetitious.
That just makes no sense. It wouldn't.
Well, it might not make sense to you, but I don't think the Israelites had any problem with like repeating the same thing over and over again because, well, this is just a human-made text, and they can be a bit repetitive when they write.
According to you, of course, again, because you're an atheist. But
well, I've definitely yet to see any reason why I should think the Torah is divinely inspired, especially when it gets things wrong.
Yeah. Except you, with your finite mind, can't even infer that there's a creator.
Oh yes, as opposed to you with your infinite mind, right?
Yeah, as opposed to the fact that you'll actually reject the creator when modern science shows up.
No, it doesn't. Don't make science claims that you don't want to go down. You don't want to go down this route. You don't want to make science claims.
But if you want to bring together the act of slaughtering itself with the pouring out the blood, even though the verses distinguish between them.
It doesn't.
I don't really see how.
Verse 16 tells you. Verse 16 already tells us how you're supposed to slaughter the animal. You're not going to get further in this conversation with me. You're just not. I see verse 16 as prescribing how you're supposed to slaughter the animal by replacing its blood. I don't care. I don't give a fuck how later Jewish people would recontext. I'm just going to mute you if you can't stop talking over me. I don't care how later authors who did not write the Torah recontextualized and reinterpreted and renegotiated with the works of the Torah. I only care about what did the authors of the author is plural because we have no evidence that Moses existed and Moses definitely didn't write the Torah. But I don't care how later Jewish people would recontextualize and reinterpret the Torah. I only care about what does the Torah itself say. By calling back to your oral tradition assumes the oral tradition is valid, which is the thing in question.
Yeah, so this is why what you're saying makes no sense. Do you know, because apparently you're a scholar of the Torah, as you claim.
I'm not a scholar. I'm a communicator of biblical scholarship.
Okay, good. So do you know that when the Torah repeats something, it's clearly marked? And it does this when it repeats a law, or it does one of the following. It will use the same verb, explicitly signal repetition. So again, as before, or repeats the same legal unit.
Is this according to your rabbis or according to the consensus of biblical scholarship?
This is according to biblical scholarship.
Citation.
I'll give you the sources if you want right now.
Yeah, citation, please.
Yeah. I can link it to you, whichever one you want.
Redeem 24, more of a scholar than you. 100%.
All right. You want to pull this up yourself, or do you want me to like send it in the chat? How do you want me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead and send me the link in messages.
All right, let me get into this.
Nini Baba 182 says we will. 1 second. Nini Baba 182 says we will keep dragging these Bronze Age believers into the future. Yeah, well, Doug willing, yeah.
Yeah, so we see this with multiple works. We can look at like what do you take fully credible? Like, there's a lot, so I need to understand what you'll take.
Secular, non-confessional scholars. I don't trust religious
Christine
people.
Hayes, RLST 145 lecture. Yeah, this is one example. I'm trying to get you as much unreligious ones as I can. Robert Alter.
Yeah, you can just send me the link and I'll go over and read them in my free time. But until then, we're just not going to get further in this conversation as this being a point of you trying to prove the oral Torah. I just don't accept it.
Yeah, so you have
to give me something better.
Yeah, because you're
give me the best evidence you have for the existence of the oral Torah within the Torah Shebiktav.
Yeah, so do you know where we get I mean there's multiple, but do you even know where we get tefillin from? Or the sukkah?
Yeah, you get the sukkah is commanded in the Torah. Although the tefillin is a radio recontextualization of like a passage in Deuteronomy chapter 6, where clearly in its original context it's not meant to be taken literally, but nonetheless later Jewish people have literalized it so that they are literally putting the commandments on their forearm and on their head.
Yeah, so your claim is that it's a later rabbinic invention. So when would that be? At the time it was written down, or prior to that time? Because first of all,
during the second temple period.
Oh, so it was during the actual service at the temple where it was invented?
In the land of Israel, these are being innovated. The innovation doesn't happen all at once. It's something gradual that comes about. We know that the tefillin were at least around by at least the 1st century BCE. But prior to that, we don't have any actual physical evidence of their existence. And it's probably sometime between the release of the exiles from Babylon in the 1st century BC, sometime around that time period is when the tefillin would be innovated.
Yeah. So first of all, do you know how the a sukkah is classified as? Do you know what a sukkah is?
In Hebrew, sukkah just means tent, but yeah, you have very specific. You have specific specifications within oral Torah about like the dimensions and all that kind of stuff about how you make a sukkah. I'm aware.
Okay. Now, do you know that the Torah instructs that when dealing with a law, or when dealing with a confusion on a law and what it is, that you're supposed to go to your fathers and to the elders and to the members of the court to understand what the law means, that you shall not deviate from what they tell you.
From case law. Yeah, from case law.
Well, not just case
law.
The
Levites. The Levites. Yeah, you go to the Levites, whom Moses appointed according to the text. I don't think in ancient Israel people were observing the Torah. I don't think the Torah as it exists didn't exist until like the 6th century BCE, just so we're aware. I don't think Moses wrote the Torah. I don't think Moses existed. I think that I hold to the scholarly consensus that the Torah is a compendium of 4 different sources that have been brought together.
Okay. So but you can agree though that according to Deuteronomy 32:7 that you're supposed to ask your father and the elders on what to do if you're confused about the law. It says even in Deuteronomy 17, according to the, they teach you shall not deviate. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to case law, yeah.
Okay, so that's an oral system right there. And you can disagree with that all you want, but that is literally telling you that if you don't understand the law, go to the elders to tell you how to keep it and what it is.
Yeah, and concerning case law, not how to build a Sukkot. The Sukkot. It's about case law. Like when you bring when you have a contention with your neighbor about a certain thing, you go to the elders in order to settle the dispute. It's not about how to build your Sukkot or how to build tefillin.
Yeah, so if I prove to you right now, it's not only case law, and it's actually the direct spiritual laws that you're supposed to do for God. Are you going to concede that there's an oral system? Or
spiritual laws?
Yeah, it's like the laws that are not to man, but rather man to God.
If that's how you're going to categorize that. By oral tradition, here, let me be more specific with you. I don't believe that the oral Torah was received by Moses at Mount Sinai. Of course, all religions start in some sort of oral form and then get written down. But like the oral Torah, as received by Moses at Mount Sinai, that's not a thing. Or at least it's a later innovation. Like, for example, the 4 traditions that make up the Torah, the P, J, E, and D sources, those were oral. Or at least in part, or in different parts, written down prior to their. No, not Pardes. The J, E, P, and D sources, the Jehovah source, the Elohim source, the Deuteronomy source, and the priestly source. The 4 sources that would go. Are you familiar with the documentary hypothesis?
No.
The consensus of scholarship says that prior to the compendium of the Torah being brought together during the Babylonian exile, the Torah existed as 4 distinct Israelite traditions: the E source, the J source, the D source, and the P source. These 4 sources would get brought together to form what we call the Torah around the 6th century BCE. This is the consensus of biblical scholarship.
Yeah, okay. But you agree, though, that according to those verses, that you're supposed to follow the judgment of the court depending on the laws, correct?
Yeah, if you go to the court and ask them about like contention between you and your neighbor or some matter like that, then sure, you ask them and they'll
purity. like ritual purity.
Sure, ritual purity be fine too. I think that in the entirety of the Torah, prior to its composition in the 6th century BCE, was at least in part transmitted orally, which is why you get contradictory stories in the Torah. And then these different 4 different oral transmissions get brought together to form what we call the written Torah.
Great. So now you've conceded to an oral system. Then we can talk about
not the Torah Shebaal Peh, though, received by Moses at Mount Sinai. That's not a thing.
That is literally okay. So you can. I'm fine with you denying it's directly from Moses at Sinai, but the point that what the courts were ruling at were part of that oral system, and if we're going by that, which makes sense because it was orally transmitted, and it can for sure be transmitted from the time of the temple to the 1st century. So, in terms of the case that we were talking about before,
to be specific, the 2nd temple, not the 1st temple.
2nd temple, great. Now that we've established that, if we go into the case regarding enslaving people at that time, we have to take a couple things into factor. 1, what was the common practice back then? 2,
when
is this practice
during the 2nd temple period or during the time of like prior to the exile?
Prior to the 2nd temple period, for sure.
All right.
What's the common practice?
The practice would be to buy slaves from among the nations and to have them as property, unless they are your fellow Israelites, in which case you can let them go at the end of the Shemitah period. But for the Gentile, the non-Jew, you own them for life, and you can pass them on to your kids as an inheritance, and you can beat them so long as they don't die in 2 or 3 days.
Great. So now we have to look, first of all, who were these people that are being put under this condition, and what are the actual conditions that are given in the oral system?
I don't care about the oral system.
Are these
I don't care about the later oral system. When the Torah was being written down, these later oral I've conceded that the later oral traditions are a later innovation, which is why I've always said. But when we're talking about proto-exilic Israelites. When we talk, shut up, stop talking. When we're talking about Israelites prior to the exile in Babylon, they were not observing these later oral traditions. How they would have kept their slaves, we don't have a lot of information on, because they were not observing the Torah as a legal code at this point in their history. Like during the time of King David, there was not like a group of people who were observing the Torah of Moses, because such a thing had not yet existed at this time in history. What they were doing is that they had slaves and they were treating them in all kinds of ways. They weren't necessarily going to the Torah as a legal code, because it didn't exist yet as a legal code.
So we have to first look at the purpose of why this happened first, and what's the purpose of this. It's important to note that the people who are being enslaved at this time, especially with the instruction, are Canaanites. And the Canaanites at this time and their practices were extremely evil. Okay, hold on.
No, guess what? Israelites were. Okay, first and foremost, you're going to make the claim that the Canaanites were evil. Are you going to make this claim based off of the Tanakh?
Yeah, so do you want me to show you historically that we have them burning babies alive and then eating them?
We also have evidence of the Israelites. We also have evidence of the Israelites doing that. Israelites offered up sacrifices. The Israelites offered up sacrifice. This is literally the consensus of the scholarship. Go read King Manasseh and Child Sacrifice by Francesca Stavrakopoulos. The Israelites
you're saying one of the sacrifice that they can't
a mulk.
Are you serious? You're saying
there wasn't just the temple. There were many temples in ancient Israel, including the one in Jerusalem. There's also the one at Bethel, for example. And yes, people offered up child sacrifices to Yahweh. This was later done away with during the reign of Josiah, who did a lot of reforms for the Israelite religion. But prior to this, there were some Israelites who were offering up sacrifices of children to Yahweh, and in fact, Yahweh affirms this in the book of Ezekiel.
So first of all, does the Tanakh? First of all, but he condemns it. Second of all, the Tanakh
that's because the Tanakh isn't univocal. So some authors like Jeremiah have God. Some authors like the author of Jeremiah have God speaking against child sacrifices. While the author, I don't know why you keep talking while I'm talking. I'm gonna just mute you. I'll just mute you if you can't shut the hell up.
Does Deuteronomy
one author like Jeremiah? I'm answering the question. Shut the hell up.
Does Deuteronomy condemn?
Okay, I'll drop you. The author of Jeremiah, for example, and the Deuteronomy source, the D source, condemns child sacrifices. Other authors like Ezekiel said that God specifically commanded child sacrifice in order to horrify the children of Israel. And there are certain segments of the book of Exodus and Leviticus which also allow for child sacrifice. Guys, I had to drop him because he would not stop talking while I'm trying to answer him. So again, yes, there are parts of the Tanakh that condemn child sacrifice. There are also parts of the Tanakh that prohibit it, that allow for it, and said that Yahweh even commanded it, because the Bible is not univocal. Gee whiz. That kid thought he was the shit, but he wasn't even the fart. That was a shame that person was unable to have a conversation. It was a good exchange otherwise. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to end up clipping this later, 100%. And let the people decide. He was very condescending. Oh yeah, of course. That's just the nature of anyone who believes in the oral Torah, is that they're going to be condescending to biblical scholarship because they think that they have the secret code to interpret the Torah correctly, but they bring to the table many preconceptions and assumptions, like univocality, like Mosaic authorship, that they're not going to be able to substantiate. Redeem24, you keep running your mouth in the comment section. Are you going to come up and actually dialogue with me? Or are you just going to be a keyboard warrior? I guess we'll find out. I'm guessing that they're not going to be brave enough to come up. Typical for Christians, though. Ain't that right? All right, let's see if we got any super chats. We have no super chats right now. No guests in the TikTok. No guest on YouTube. So if you are a friendly and you have biblical questions, feel free to come on up and have a conversation with me to fill in the time until we get some opposition. Doesn't the Bible clearly state that Moses wrote the Torah? That is the claim of parts of the Bible, yes. But when we actually take a look at the actual writings of the Torah, it becomes very clear to us that the author, first and foremost, whoever's writing parts of the Torah is living at a later time in history. They're living at a time when the Israelites are already living in the land of Canaan. The author of the book of Genesis, some of the authors and redactors of the book of Genesis mention that Abraham goes all the way up to the region of Dan. Well, the region of Dan didn't exist until after the time when Moses allegedly lived. Which would tell us that, for example, whoever is writing this is writing at a later time who has knowledge of the region of Dan. Is Baal mentioned in the Bible? Yes, Baal or Baal is mentioned in the Bible. However, most people aren't aware of this, but Baal's name wasn't actually Baal. Baal was his title. In Hebrew, it's Baal, which means master or Lord. His name was actually Baal Hadad. His name was Hadad. And his title was Lord Hadad or Baal Hadad. So, and the Israelites even sometimes refer to God as Baal. We have a super chat here. Pull up my from
at Furtive Patah with the $1.99. Can you explain creations in Genesis for redeemed?
Creations in Genesis? I mean, yeah, if you want more information, I mean, the book of Genesis, and this actually goes to Klopnov in the comment section as well, who says that isn't the Torah say, and also by the way, guests in the YouTube panel, we will get to you in just a second as soon as I answer this question. But it said Klopnov says, well, wasn't the Torah dictated to Moses on Mount Sinai according to the Torah? Well, the 10 Commandments were dictated to him, and many laws were dictated to him, but the 5 books were not. Now, and the reason we know that, first and foremost, for example, the book of Genesis has for us 2 different creation myths. So if I asked a Christian how many days did it take God to create the heavens and the earth, many of them are going to say 6 days, and on the 7th he rested. But Genesis chapter 2 verse 4 tells us that all of this occurred in one day, that on the day that the Lord God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1 through 2:3 has 1 creation myth, and Genesis 2:4 onwards through the end of chapter 3 has a 2nd creation myth. This is the J and the E source, respectively. For more information, see the composition of the Pentateuch by Joel Baden. We're going to bring in our next guest from YouTube. Let's see. Unmute and add to scene. Hello, guest. What name should we call you by?
Wait, is it me? Am I on? Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Oh, hi. I'm Lars. You mentioned that atheists could come in and ask a question quick. That now is the time to do that.
Absolutely. Lars, I'm going to ask you some preliminary questions. Since you're atheist, I'll ask you 3 questions. Well, 2, I guess, because I already know you probably don't believe in the Bible because you're an atheist. So question number 1, are you at least 18?
Yep.
And what pronouns do you prefer to go by?
They, them.
They, them. Lars, they, them. I'm Dalton, the Bible Guy. What brings you up to the Bible Guy show?
So I just have a really quick question. I've been talking to a Jehovah's Witness, right? And basically, in the Adam and Eve story, the way I reread it, it seems to indicate to me that Adam was there with Eve the entire time during the conversation with the snake, right? It doesn't really say that he was gone. And when she gives the fruit to him, it just says she takes the fruit, she eats it, and gives it to the man who was there with her. And interestingly enough, most Christians who I talk to seem to think that Adam was just kind of off somewhere else. My question is, the Jehovah's Witness Bible inserts like a time word there that I haven't seen in any other translation. It says afterwards, right? Afterwards, she gave the fruit to her husband who was nearby, right? And I'm just wondering, what does the original Hebrew say? Because I don't speak that. is there any indication based on how it says there that like there's like an interval of time in between this conversation with the snake and Eve giving the fruit to Adam?
Fantastic question. Yeah, let's go ahead and look at the Hebrew real quick. I'll put it up on the board for everyone to see. So here we have the Hebrew, and the important part we want to pay attention to is the phrase here. It says "Vatikach," and she took mi pliv from the fruit vetokal and ate. Vatiten gam la isha, and gave the woman to the man ima v'oka, who was with her, and he ate. So there's nothing in the text. Oh, sorry for anyone who cannot see it in the TikTok comments. There you go. Anyways, there's nothing in the text that indicates anything other than the fact that she gave it to her husband who was with her and she ate. There's nothing that indicates that afterward he was with her for the entire thing.
Yeah. So there's. All right. Yeah. Thank you. That's about it.
Happy to help, bud. And if you have, if
just kind of put that in there to absolve Adam of any responsibility, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's not unlikely, as the Jehovah's Witnesses Bible translation does do this. They will insert words into the text in order to like support their dogmas. And this isn't just Jehovah's Witnesses. Regular Protestant Christian Bibles do this as well, inserting words into the Bible in order to support their dogmatic views. But when we take a look at the original Hebrew, as we just did, there's nothing in the text to indicate anything other than the fact that Adam was with Eve and she gave him the fruit and he ate. He was a witness to it all and did as she said.
All right, that's it. Thank you, Mose. Thanks so much.
Have a good day, bud. Always nice to get a good, decent Bible question in. All right, let's see what bullshittery is Redeemed doing in the comments now. Still hasn't come up. Still hasn't come up to talk to me. Wonder why. Oh, here's a good question. In our super chats.
Brianna Evans. Brianna, why are the Canaanites always portrayed as evil?
So first and foremost, it's important to remember that the Canaanites were not a single group. The Canaanites is an umbrella term that we give for lots of different groups that existed in the land of Canaan. In fact, as far as the scholarship is concerned, the Israelites were themselves a group of Canaanites. And the reason why the enemies of Israel are portrayed in such a nasty light in the Hebrew Bible is because they are the enemies of Israel. If you look, for example, at the New Testament, look at the way that the New Testament portrays, specifically like the book of John, the way that the book of John portrays the Jews. The author of the book of John is very anti-Semitic. And as a result, he has Jesus saying things to the Jews like they are the sons of the devil and stuff like that. That's because the author is in opposition to the Jewish people, and therefore he portrays them in a very negative light. The same is true for the authors of the Hebrew Bible. Will often portray different groups of Canaanites as the enemies, like the Philistines, because historically speaking, the Israelites and the Philistines were at war with one another. So they, portrayed themselves as very good, and they painted their enemies as vicious and horrible. But at the end of the day, the Israelites were guilty of many of the same things that the other Canaanite groups were guilty of, including, as we've already referenced to, the slaying of infants on the altar. Israelites did this. Other Canaanite groups did this. So the reason they portray their the Canaanites as evil is simply because the book is written in opposition to them. Victory. What was the saying? History is written by the victor. And sadly, out of all the ancient groups, the Israelites are the ones that won out. So their version of history is the one we read today. Which is why, if you were to ask, who is the rightful king of the people of God, is it David and his descendants, or is it Omri and his descendants? Had the northern house of Israel continued to exist and become the dominant force, today we might not be talking about the Messiah from the line of David. We'd be talking about the Messiah from the line of Omri. But instead, it was the people of Judah who won out. So now, their version of history is the one which is worn out. The Bible was written over 2,000 years ago, is being discredited by a guy on TikTok. No, Guillermo, it's being discredited by many, many scholars. I'm just communicating the scholarship. You got a problem with it? Take it up with the scholars. And
might you find it interesting with $5? Have you ever seen Good Omens? It focuses on evil things both demons and angels do in the Bible.
I have. I love Good Omens. Aziraphale and Crowley are a cute couple. But beyond that, yeah, I mean, the Good Omens is interesting. There's a part in Good Omens, minor spoiler. I won't go into too much detail for people who want to watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. Go and check it out. But Aziraphale the angel is sent to like wipe out Job's children, and Crowley, I think, as I remember, Crowley convinces him that it might not be the best thing to do, and they end up hiding Job's kids from the angel Gabriel and told them, yeah, we destroyed the kids and we'll create new ones, and then they just bring back the old kids that were in hiding and give them back to Job, and the angels of heaven are none the wiser to the ploy. Good, very, very funny show, very good show. I love British humor; it's hilarious. Crowley, yeah, the name of the demon character in the Good Omens was originally called Crawley, but then he changed his name later, Crowley. Not to be confused with the Crowley from the show Supernatural. Both demons named Crowley take their inspiration from the occultist Aleister Crowley. Yeah. Any guest in the box? No guest in the box. Redeemed has some more bullshit to say. Job, here, let me read it in the Christian
voice. Job 38 verse 14, it is changed like clay under the seal, and its features stand out like a garment. What does this have to do with flat earth?
Yeah, Redeemed. Do you know what shape a clay seal is, by chance? If you take some clay, and you take a signet ring, and you pound the signet ring into the clay and it dries up, what fucking shape do you think it makes? It's flat. Yeah, the ancient Israelites were flat earthers. Nina Baba says he doesn't know what a fucking seal is from back then. Just request it. For real. Just for fucking request up, Redeemed. Jesus Christ. Wasting everyone's time with your bullshit in the comment section. Ken the Skeptic says, I like the supernatural Crowley. Me too, y'all. Crowley really redeemed himself by the end of the show. I'm really sad that Mark Shepard's character got killed off. He never even got to meet Jack. He never even got to meet Jack. Although I am glad that Crowley's death led into a redemption arc more fully for Rowena, and how she would end up becoming Queen of Hell and running things proper. But yeah, Rowena. We love a good redhead. By the way, in case no one knew this, this is a wild fact I'm about to share with you guys, because I only learned this not very long ago. But here, and then after as I show you guys this, I'll bring up our next guest who is waiting for us on the YouTube panel. But the actors who played Chuck and Rowena, who I think their names are Rob Benedict, and I can't remember the actress who plays Rowena, what her name is. But they are actually married in real life. Chuck and Rowena, who did have some onstage chemistry in season 11, they are married in real life. Isn't that fun? And also, if I don't remember, the guy who played DJ Qualls, who played the werewolf, Garth, and the guy who played the vampire Benny, they're also in a relationship. So You know, love all around on that show. Love to see it. All right. We're going to bring up the next guest. What name should I refer to you by? Your mic doesn't seem. Make sure your mic is connected.
Okay, how about now?
There we go. Got you.
Yeah, I'm John.
John. All right, John. I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions, and then we can move on to the meat and potatoes of the conversation. Question number 1, John. Are you at least 18 years old?
Yes.
Question number 2. Are you a Bible believer?
No.
All right, then I'll skip question 3 and go to question 4. What pronouns do you prefer to go by?
He, him.
All right, John, he, him. Nice to meet you. I'm Dalton, the Bible guy. What brings you up to the show, bud?
Well, I was in Mezzo's stream the other day. You know Mezzo, friend of Joel Meets Bible. And he had a commenter who joked about Answers in Genocide, a play on Answers in Genesis, the famous apologetic site. So I went and registered answersingenocide.com and .org. And I was couldn't believe they're not taken. So I was getting ready to frame up some kind of framework for an anti-apologetist, like a competition to or a satire of Answers in Genesis. And
that is such luck on your part. Getting that is so good.
But you see, I'm like a full stack web developer. I'm not a Bible scholar at all. And so in order to pull this off, I would need help. And I wanted to ask about like categories of, like, say you have some quote from the Bible that on its surface, and by the way, if you have oppositional guests, feel free to kick me.
No, you're good.
Say you have some quote that's like on the surface seems obviously problematic. And then some of the apologetic angles from watching you and Justin and Joel, I see things like, well, let's go to the original source. So that could be Hebrew or it could be Greek. So now we're talking about we have to have a website that supports Hebrew and Greek. And I know Hebrew is a right to left language.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something we'll need to be able to support that. And then, okay, the context. So there's the original source, there's the context. What are some other categories that might need to be, like you want to hedge in and have all this preemptive opposition to the immediate rebuttals? And so like cultural context, could that be something, that'd be maybe a third category that you'd want to defend against, right? But can you think of other categories that might need to be built in than those?
Yeah, so one that gets brought up not very often, but it does sometimes. So early Christians were also battling internally with these problematic genocidal passages, and one of the methods that they tried to use in order to sweep these problems under the rug, such as Origen of Alexandria, developed this idea that this was all allegory or something else. So dealing with the question of, are these passages meant to be allegory or are they meant to be descriptions of what they believed historically occurred? That would be another thing I would suggest adding to.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I would spend time, if I were you, and as excruciating as it sounds, watching online videos from apologists attempting to do apologetics for the genocidal passages to familiarize yourself with the many ways that they might try to come at this question, so that you can like build your rebuttals off of that.
Okay. And then supposing there was a framework in place already, is this something that you might want to contribute to?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have Discord?
I have Discord.
Well, I also have Discord. And you can, if you look in the description of the YouTube video, you'll find the Bible Guy Discord. Join up. on there, and I'll help in whatever way I can. Maybe I'll try to get Justin in on as well.
Yeah, I want to make sure that, because I respect you guys, I want to make sure that I do my homework first, and so I'm not just asking you to do the work on this.
Absolutely.
But, I was raised in a Catholic household, so I have some familiarity that I'm not. But I do support the idea of helping people deconstruct. And so taking a real sober look at some of the apologetic claims and the rebuttals to the counter apologetics, it seems like it's worth spending some time on, help other people.
Yeah, I suggest also reaching out to Justin. Next time he's live, he goes lives on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Call in on his show as well. And first things first, just tell him that I sent you, and then tell him, catch him up on this and see if he wants to contribute as well.
Okay. Cheers.
All right. You have a good day, John.
Yeah. Thanks. You too. Nice to meet you.
What an absolute win on catching that URL. That's crazy work. Answers in genocide. I think that, and if you're listening, if you can start off having the website be dedicated primarily to that, but don't be afraid to like branch out and do more counter apologetic work on it. It's such a man. Wish I would have thought of that, but I don't know jack shit about making websites. I would have gone with Wix or something like that. Not John Wicks, the other Wicks. All right. Let's see. That's so funny. So Christians, we have 24 minutes left in the show. So if you'd like to come up, or if you want to, since we only got 24 minutes left, if you want to send in a super chat, make sure you do so now, as we only got 24 minutes left of the show. Oh, I totally forgot to put it on vertical stream today as well, didn't I? Damn. Oh well. Anyways, well, make sure you're tapping that screen. And if you're a friendly, make sure you can also come in right now. If you're not in opposition, you're more than welcome to come in and ask your questions, because as much as we do love doing debates here, we are also all about the education aspect, the democratization of information. I think that's one of the things that makes my show a little bit different than these other shows, is that while these other shows are focused primarily on debates, we are also focused on debates here. I am also just open to having friendlies come up and ask their questions. We have here Jew Serial Giver. I'm going to ask you 4 preliminary questions, and then we can move on to the main part of the conversation. Question number 1, are you at least 18 years old?
Yes.
Question number 2, are you a Bible believer?
Yes.
Question number 3, how much of the Bible have you read?
I never thought about that. I don't know, maybe 40%.
All right, and final question, what pronouns do you prefer to go by?
Oh, well, my name's Joshua. I'm a man, so...
Well, that's your gender and your name, but what pronouns, third person pronouns, do you prefer to have people refer to you as?
I mean... Oh, you mean like him or he or something like that?
Yeah, is that what you prefer to go by?
Yeah.
All right, he, him. I'm Dalton, the Bible guy. Which one of the 6 points on the board did you want to discuss with me?
The 6th one. The Bible's not a good source for morals.
Here's the thing, every single caller I've had come up today has wanted to talk about the Bible not a good source for morals. I'm kind of bored by now. Could you pick one of the other 5 points?
Really, whichever one you would want to go with.
Pick your pick of 1 through 5, whatever one.
Well, let's go with number 2.
All right. Jesus was not the Messiah. I do not think that Jesus was the Messiah. precisely because he didn't fulfill a single prophecy from the Hebrew Bible.
So I'm guessing I was supposed to pick one that I disagree with, huh?
Yes.
Okay, I did that wrong because I agree with that. Obviously, a savior hasn't come, so pick one that I disagree with. Okay, number one.
The Bible is not inspired. Why do you believe the Bible is inspired?
Well, because it's a prophecy, and a prophecy is a prediction. As it's written, it's a collection of dreams and visions that men had concerning the future of a kingdom that it was prophesying over.
So what prophecy has been fulfilled that should lead me to believe that the Bible is inspired?
Well, for one, the fall away from God. So mankind has fallen into a state of darkness, basically a state of oppression, and the world is being ruled by.
I disagree. I think things are getting better because we're falling away from superstition and archaic deity beliefs. But hasn't it always been true that people have always been falling away from God?
Well, this is how we know that this is prophecy, because that's what it foretold, that his spirit would leave the earth because of our forefathers or the kings in that kingdom that sinned against God.
I would need to see evidence that his spirit was ever on the earth to begin with in order to believe that his spirit went away.
Okay. So the evidence is the prophecy.
What prophecy?
Because in the past, God spoke to our ancestors through the prophets. And that's why we have these collections of dreams and visions known as a prophecy, which is
I don't believe in prophecy. I've never seen an actual prophecy be fulfilled that wasn't vague and generic.
Well, just because it wasn't fulfilled doesn't mean that the prophecy won't come to pass. It's just that we haven't seen it fulfilled.
Well, I could say the same thing about the Quran or the New Testament or literally any holy book. Like, I can make a prophecy right now and, I can just say, well, it hasn't been fulfilled yet, but it is a prophecy. So I need an example of a prophecy that actually has been fulfilled to verify that prophecy is true.
Okay. So when 2 Thessalonians is written that for this reason, God will send them a strong delusion that they should be led to believe.
Wait, I thought you didn't believe Jesus was the Messiah.
Well, you said you wanted me to show you a prophecy that has come to pass. So I'm showing you that.
But you're quoting from the New Testament. Doesn't the book of don't both 1st and 2nd Thessalonians make the claim that Jesus was the Messiah?
So again, this is prophecy. My answer is no for one. My answer is no, and the reason why my answer is no because a prophecy is a prediction, whereas a history book is talking about something that's already occurred.
You seem confused. You have said that 1, Jesus was not the Messiah. You said that. But 2, you're quoting to me from 2 Thessalonians as if it has prophecy. But if Jesus is not the Messiah, then 2 Thessalonians is not divinely inspired because it makes the claim that Jesus was the Messiah.
So just so I don't forget my point, when you ask me to show you a piece of prophecy in order to prove to you that this is a prophecy, show you something that has been fulfilled. So first I would have to show you because we have to.
But you think?
Well, what do you want? Do you want me to show you that it's prophecy or not?
It's confusing though, because you don't actually believe that Jesus was the Messiah or the Christ, and yet you're citing a prophecy from a text that you think makes false claims that Jesus is the Christ.
So let's establish a baseline for our definition.
Are you a Christian or not?
So yes, I am, and let's establish a baseline for the definition of prophecy.
So you do think Jesus is the Messiah?
My definition for prophecy is a prediction.
Well, before we get to the whole prophecy thing, I need to understand you as a person because you're extremely confusing. Because you've already told me that you thought Jesus was not. You said that.
Well, you asked me a question.
Well, no, but you answered in a very confusing way because you said earlier, I said that I do not think Jesus was a Messiah because he didn't fulfill prophecy. You agreed with me, but the New Testament makes the claim that he did fulfill prophecies.
So at this point, I'm confused as to which question you want me to answer. Which one on the table?
I'm confused I'm confused as to what it is you believe as an individual. I'm gonna just ask you a serious question.
Would you like for me to share with you what I believe? Would that clear it up if I just simply told you?
Hey, I'm going to ask you a series of questions just to get down to this. So 1, Christian, yes or no?
Yes.
Question 2, was Jesus the Christ/Messiah?
No.
That's a contradiction. If you do not confess Jesus is the Christ and Messiah, you are not a Christian. A Christian is an individual. What do you think the word Christian means?
Will I be able to explain my answers, or?
Yeah, what do you think Christian means? What is the meaning of that word?
Someone who follows Christ. Someone who follows Christ.
And Christ is, according to the New Testament,
the Messiah.
And that is according to the New Testament. Who is that according to the New Testament? There's an individual that gets labeled.
When you asked me the question, you said, was Jesus the Messiah? You asking me a past tense question. This is why I keep telling you no. Because Christ did not come 2,000 years ago.
Wait, you don't think, okay. Do you think Jesus of Nazareth, when he existed, was the Christ like the New Testament says he was?
No.
So the New Testament is wrong.
No.
You're a walking contradiction. Make it make sense.
Well,
how can the New Testament be true?
If you want me to make it make sense, you got to allow me to say something.
Does the New Testament make the claim that Jesus was the Messiah?
Brother, if you just allow me to explain my stance, it'll make a whole lot more sense instead of you hunting and pecking.
Does the New Testament make the claim that Jesus was the Messiah?
Brother, I'm gonna say no all night to this question, bro.
All right. Then we're gonna read the New Testament and see if you're correct. Let's see. Literally, what is the first opening?
When I just went to start reading to give you my response, you just automatically cut me off. Like, why can I never explain myself?
What is the opening line of the New Testament?
Well, I guess brother man don't want to really talk.
An account of the genealogy of Jesus, the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. If you believe in the New Testament, then you have to affirm what the New Testament says, that Jesus was the Messiah.
You still asking me questions, or you want me to explain myself now?
I want you to engage with what I've just brought up.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Dalton.
I will have a conversation with you.
One second. What is it, Elizabeth? What's up?
Okay, so this guy, I've seen him before. Like,
now you would rather listen to somebody else.
Go on.
They basically believe that Jesus came back like in the 21st century, or like the last, like, it's one of those like crazy fringe cults. That's what he belongs to. That's what his name is for. It's Yaju.
And he ran away. Yeah.
That's because I totally told you.
Yaju.
He's been on other lives before. So like, I would say
Christians are a confused individual. Yaju, you take confusion to the next level. You need to go back and read the New Testament, get out of your crazy little cult mindset, and actually be a serious individual and stop holding to contradictory beliefs. Oh, wild.
I forget exactly where he thinks like the Messiah is, but he believes like the Messiah is like living like here in the United States, like right now.
Fucking crazy.
At least that was my understanding. That's my understanding. Like last time, like I heard them come up. They're like one of those like fringe, like crazy cult things.
Lucas.
So yeah. I was just
says,
trying to save you a lot of heartache because it seemed like you were like trying to figure out like.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking to a person,
it's in Georgia. It's in Georgia.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you're talking to a person that holds two contradictory ideas in your head and trying to make sense of it, yeah, that you're gonna get my face looking like this, like not knowing what the fuck this person was talking about. That was wild.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought I'd come up and like let you know like what was going on with that, because all he wanted to do was like preach his gospel.
Oh yeah, I wasn't gonna let him do that. I mean, if he's gonna, Just a forewarning to all the cultists and Christians out there. This is not a preaching zone. This is a place where I question you to get to the bottom of what you believe and why you believe it. And if you are incoherently believing all nonsense like this, then we're all going to laugh and point at you. But I guess I'll read this next super chat real quick.
Well, I'll go ahead and drop down. I just want to help you.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. You have a wonderful day. Are you home now?
I am. Yes, indeed.
All right. Good to be at home. I'll talk to you later.
Awesome. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
At Brianna Evans with the $4.99. Is it valid to only see religions as an ideology? Just the way our ancestors tried to explain the world they couldn't understand. That's how I see it.
I don't think you're wrong. I don't know if ideology would necessarily be the right word for here. But perhaps it is. But so yeah, I mean, our ancestors did not understand the way that the world worked, and they had to make sense of it somehow. So they created stories to explain the world that they lived in. One of the biggest contributors to the creation of Brown, I think it might be a correct term. I don't know, but one of the biggest contributors to how God ideas, were created in the first place. In order to have gods, you have to have spirits. That's the what comes before gods. Gods are just really exalted, powerful spirits. How spirits came about within the psyche of human beings is that we have something within the brain called a hyper-agency detection awareness. Basically, imagine this. You have a deer that's sitting in the field. The deer hears a rustling in the bushes. It could be a predator or it could just be the wind. The safest thing to do is to assume it's a predator. In other words, that it's an agent and running, because a false positive, you don't lose that much from a false positive, but a false negative, you think that it might just be the wind. Well, that's deadly. You might get killed. So mammals like deer or our ape ancestors, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, et cetera, work within this worldview, this framework of you hear something, you see something move. There's obviously some agent responsible for that movement, that sound. And when it's not clear that there's a visible agent, well, then it's clear that it's an invisible agent. So we start seeing the trees are bending in the wind. The rivers are flowing. What agent is causing these things to happen? And we start attributing invisible agents all around us to sounds and to phenomenon in nature. And then on top of that, people grieving the death of loved ones will experience bereavement hallucinations where they'll see their loved one. And yet, if they reach out and touch them, they'll pass right through them. All of these different factors build to a belief in spirits. And our ancestors would sometimes revere the spirit of their ancestors. We even see in Egypt, we have examples of very old ancient altars for family spirits where sacrifices would be made and gifts would be given. And all it takes is for these spirits to become over time more exalted and given more power. Even if, let's say, you have an individual who becomes a king and has a very large city, his ancestral spirit becomes the patron spirit of the city and is given a lot of power and is seen as a king, and that's how you get gods and goddesses. So ultimately, the origin of gods comes about from psychological misapprehension of nature. And then, of course, later on, we start seeing other things in nature and we start attributing those to gods as well. So, yeah. Psychology of religion. Very fun stuff. I believe this is what's called in the field, the cognitive science of religion. Yeah. So it looks like we don't have any more guests on TikTok or YouTube, and we don't have any more super chats. So let's take a look and see who we can send a raid to. Let's see who is live right now. By the way, guys, I'm a huge gamer, and I'm interested to know in the comment section. I'm looking at both YouTube and TikTok. What games are y'all playing right now? Tell me what your favorite game is right now. Let's see who's live right now. Rust? All right. Literally RimWorld right now. World of Warcraft, Helldivers 2, Roblox, Mario Kart World, Fallout 4. That's a good one. I like that. Arc Raiders, Minecraft. Look at all these gamers in here. I love it. Right now, I'm playing The Line is live with Justin and Ian. Oh, okay. Then everyone go over to The Line to watch Justin and Ian right now. Right now, I'm playing Horizon. I just downloaded both Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West, and I'm about to play them up again. But I've just gotten a text telling me that dinner is actually ready a couple hours ago. I think I'm going to go eat that. Hutu, you're going to call back earlier in the show. Try again tomorrow at 5. We'll be alive again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hutu, you got to call in earlier, bud. Not at the end of the show. Now, Hutu's just jealous because they wish they had someone make dinner for them. It is what it is. All right, and with that, everyone, I've been the Bible guy. Remember to keep reading, keep learning, and we'll see you all again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow. Bye.
Like a sword of desire, ancient scrolls and cosmic flame. He tears through myth, he breaks the chain. Echoes of prophets, the stars align. Knowledge and thunder intertwine.